party.
Actually, we just got back from our trip. Aren't you tired of staying at home? Yeah, I remember. We went to the beach, but it was way too hot yesterday, so we took off early. Yeah, we're getting her ready for school. She doesn't want to go, but what can you do, right? Alright, I'll drop by later tonight. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
Hey neighbor, long time no see. How's life?
The same as it ever was.
So, let me level with you. I came over for a reason. I've been getting a little worried about you. Something real bad seems to be headed our way. I just got off the phone with my cousin. She told me the news is saying something weird is going on with the sun. And that there are people coming up from underground. They're calling them visitors, for whatever reason. Creepy stuff, huh? I sure hope it's not true.
Visitors?
Yeah, that's what they're calling the people from underground. God knows why they're calling them that. I guess it's because they're visitors to Earth, or the surface at least. Or maybe it's because they're going around trying to get into people's houses. My cousin told me that being home alone is dangerous, so I came over to make sure you don't end up hurt, or worse.
Okay.
Great. Let's continue this conversation in the morning then. I'll see you in the kitchen when you wake up. See you in the morning.
Your neighbor enters your house as you take a step back from the peephole. Seems like no one's coming tonight. You take a look out of your window. A few drunkards lay sprawled out on the street. They're lying on the cold, hard ground and appear to be fast asleep. Things are good for them right now. You take a step back from the window. You see a second one down the hall and decide to check out that one too. A skinny dog is standing on the footpath that runs through the field. It's looking around mournfully, perhaps trying to find some food. A third and final window can be seen at the end of the hall. Taking a peek out of this one, you see your neighbor's house standing alone in the hayfield. There's no light in the windows. Looks like his family is asleep. It's a calm contrast to what your neighbor just said. Such dangers await, but the world hasn't noticed yet. Next to the window is your bedroom. You decide to lay rest for the night.
Breaking news. At 6:28 a.m. today, there's a powerful emission of energy from the sun. The burst of energy was far larger than scientists had predicted. As a result, temperatures outside have reached critical levels. The government has since declared a state of emergency. We ask the viewers refrain from going outside during the day. Up next, something lighter.
Well, after this news broadcast, you can actually click on the TV again.
You see ballerinas dancing gracefully, crossing the stage in strong but delicate leaps. Despite the elegance, the dance evokes anxious thoughts. If only someone could explain what's going on.
In Russia, they would actually play Swan Lake during deaths of political leaders or the failed coup attempt of 1991. For a citizen, seeing a looped video of Swan Lake means something big is happening. Something scary. It could be done to censor the media. Perhaps the soothing dance could distract the masses from what is really happening. It might mitigate some things in real life. But in this game, there's no avoidance. Whatever will happen, you will know, because it will probably happen to you. After watching today's broadcast, you can now explore your room. The window on the far side is interactable, but clicking on it tells you this. Nope, I don't look that way. Not anymore. The wardrobe on the far side of your bed is also interactable, but it says this: I hate sleeping by the nightstand. Too many bad memories. It's pretty clear that your character's been through something traumatic, something to the point where he just doesn't want to interact with the right side of his room. Leaving your room, you notice that your hallway is now nicely lit. You can look out the window, but
I'm afraid looking out right now would make me go blind.
it's pretty clear the sun's activity really is increasing like your neighbour said. Checking the next room, the office, there's many paintings on the walls. You can interact with one of a lady, up in the top left. You think to yourself, honestly, I'm better off being alone. You can even talk out loud to yourself. There's also a stack of newspapers on the table in front of the sofa. Interacting with this says, one of these magazines where you gotta find a certain person in the crowd. Must be annoying. Wish people would just leave me alone already. It seems your isolation is intentional. The reason you don't see people is because you don't want to. You enjoy being alone. The next room you can check is the hall. The hall has a toy in the top cabinet shelf. Toto, pretty much the only toy I had as a kid. Well, except for the sticks we used to whack the grass. Above the couch is a cross that you can interact with. Don't get why it's not in the corner. I thought that was the rule. Then again, Dad never gave a damn about the rules. Leaving this room, you see a door at the end of the hallway. Behind it is the storage room. Inside the storage room, boxes line the shelves. Even a printer at the bottom, but at the top middle, there are 2 boxes you can interact with. He said back then, when I'm gone, you decide if you want to open that box or not. Been deciding for 15 years, still can't make up my mind. It appears there's still some more secrets about your character to learn. Behind you is the bathroom. In the bathroom there's only one thing you can interact with, window to another room. People used to do that to save electricity, so the light from one room fills another. Then they sealed it up, but only on one side. Leaving the bathroom, you can check the entryway, which we were just at last night. Behind you is the phone, but you can't use that, and a picture of a lady, someone you don't recognize. Going back through the hallway, you see a poster which says loneliness and isolation, and has a house and an empty cliff face. Going back towards your bedroom, there's a drawer with a picture of a cat on the top. Below that is a jar of kombucha which you can use to save once per game. Above the books is a radio which you can use. Picking up the radio, it gives you instructions on how to catch a signal. You decide to try and catch one.
Hello, this is Emergency Services Dispatch. How can I help you?
People, they're burning.
Can you describe what you're seeing? Is there a fire?
No, it's the sun. They're burning up in the sun.
Do not leave the house until dark.
No, that guy haunts the streets at night. The pale one. He's not human. Congratulations! You've now found the 3 main sources of information in the game, aside from people of course. These being your windows at night, the TV in the morning, and the radio during the day. As you go through the game, you might start to question the sources, whether they're telling the whole truth or not, and characters might contradict what you used to believe, but that's for later. You now enter the last room, the kitchen, where your neighbour's sitting. You can interact with him to have a conversation with him.
Damn, so it's all true after all. Well then, everything I said makes sense. Don't go outside during the day. You have to remember to let other people in.
Your character prefers to be alone, so the only natural response is, why would I let strangers into my house?
I know you prefer to keep your distance from people, but you have to. Because it doesn't know for sure why we can't just bunker down by ourselves. But she mentioned that if anyone comes and asks if you're alone, say no, and tell them someone's in the house with you.
I hate dealing with people.
I know, it won't be easy for you, but you have no choice. Might be the only thing that keeps you alive. And who knows, they might even bring something useful or share some interesting information. Don't forget to test them for signs of being a visitor. You won't have much energy during the day with this heat. So choose who you want to test carefully. You'll have to take a real close look. It's strenuous, draining work. But don't worry about chatting with people. That won't take up any energy. So talk as much as you like. And be sure to look out your windows. TV's great and all, but there's no better source of info than your own 2 eyes.
Well, then what?
I'm afraid all we can do now is try to survive. I hope this nightmare ends soon. I'm sure the government will help us somehow. Maybe they'll lead everyone to shelter or something like that. If they do, stick together with me and my family. Alright, that's it for me. Alright, almost forgot. I'm heading back home tomorrow night. Write down my number. They just set up a line over there. 242-252. We'll keep in touch on the phone. Okay now, that's really it. Crack a beer and get some sleep.
Afterwards, you can now check the fridge to crack a beer, and ew, what is that? Kill it. Cracking a beer sets your energy to 0, allowing you to head to sleep, preparing yourself for night 1. Each night, it's best to check out of each window before you answer to any guests. This is to ensure that you've gathered as much information as possible without forgetting anything. Outside your first window, you spot your neighbour's house. Lights on, it seems his family is waiting for him to come home. Outside your next window, you see teenagers out in your yard. They sit around without a care in the world and they pay you no mind. Outside of your final window, there's a deathly silence outside. Even the drunks have decided not to go out. Are they afraid of something? This is really all you can do at night, just check your windows, so you may as well look through the peephole now to see who's knocking. Standing on your front porch is a little girl. She asks you if her father is home, referencing your neighbour. She says there's some strange people out at night and is scared now. Your dialogue options are basically just tests to see if this is really your neighbour's daughter. She really just talks about the things he does for her, and then goes on a side tangent about how good juice is, and how she tried some of her dad's beer and it's yucky. Clearly your neighbour hasn't raised her right. By now she should be kicking back 10 beers a day at least. She also starts talking about this world from a child's perspective. It feels like opposite day, with people sleeping in the day and going out at night. She doesn't know the real dangers, but hints at there being something in the dark. You get her dad for her, and she yaps some more about a game she's going to play with her father when they get home. It might seem redundant dialogue, but it's really just setting up the innocents early into this catastrophe. Even the sight from your windows really isn't anything terrifying, with only the third window having somewhat of a creepy sight. How long can this eerie peace last though? As your neighbours leave, all you can really do is wait for the next visitor to knock on your door. Hearing their knocks, you open the door to a man so towering his face doesn't even fit in the frame. This man was taking shelter at a bar nearby, but got kicked out because someone didn't like him, but he ensures you he's safe. Upon asking if he's a visitor, he's quite rude about saying no, and you're never going to get a straight answer asking that directly. He seems pretty pissed off about what happened to him. This is where the game tests whether or not the personality at the door determines whether you'll let them in. Heeding your neighbour's warning to not be alone, you let him in, causing him to crouch down and thank you. You can see his face, smiling. He seems human. This isn't your last guest for tonight. Upon hearing a couple more knocks, you look back through the peephole and you see a girl with a slanted shoulder outside. She greets you much less confrontationally than the last guy. She says sorry to bother you, but the TV said not to go out in the sun. She seems stressed, but she still has her manners unlike the last guy. Upon questioning her, she tells you about how she used to live near the city, but things are getting pretty bad over there. She just wants to be let in because she doesn't have anywhere to go. She tells you a little bit about her past as a cash register worker who got fired, but that's all you really need to know now. As she seems much nicer than the last guy, you may as well let her in too. She's grateful, but now you've got 2 people in your house. You don't really like to be bothered by people. The next guy that comes to your house greets you with, "Hello there, human." Okay, this bit's getting old now, that's enough. Something's wrong about this guy. The way he speaks, the way he talks about the sun as if it's some kind of deity. Something's not right. He shouts at you about the sun's power and how it's cleansing us of sin. It's clear he's delusional. He must be. He thinks the sun's going to cleanse us, not kill us. Unlike the other 2 guests, who seemed human, this guy, there's something wrong about him. So, for that reason, you decide to reject him. He's quite upset about this, angry at you even. But there's nothing he can do, so he leaves. That was your last guest of the night.
You have 2 people in your home, and you turned one away. Did you make the right choices? Only time will tell. All you can do now is go to sleep and hope that tomorrow is better.
Good afternoon, here's the news. The sun's activity rises steadily as crime levels also reach a new high. According to recent data, the number of murders over the last few nights has surpassed average figures. Experts suspect this is related to society's ever-growing anxiety surrounding the visitors. And now, over to... just a moment. Our studios have received an urgent transmission regarding contact with a phenomenon we are calling the visitors. Eyewitness accounts describe them as creatures that can imitate the appearance and behavior of humans. Avoid contact at all costs. In one case, a visitor was able to be identified with one telltale sign: perfect white teeth. Our early reports seem to back this up. Sources say they encountered an unhoused person with perfect white teeth who later turned out to be a visitor. That's all for now. Stay calm and don't leave the house during the day. Up next, more weather updates, but first a message from our sponsors.
Checking the TV again, you get an ad for the delivery service for Rest, in which you can get many valuable items that you might need across the playthrough. After this ad is the weather, in which the weatherman basically just tells you about the consequences of the rising temperatures. There's increased UV rays and you could even get 3rd-degree burns just from going outside. Things are getting crazier by the day. Coming out of your bedroom, you check the radio.
And now for our new program, Yes, I'm a Human. It's simple. You send in your photos, and we'll check what you really are. Just send us your photos to us by email to yesiam@humanverification.agency, and we will handle the rest. But please don't send anything other than the eyes, teeth, and fingernails. We will not accept anything else.
There's a lot of useful information we get from both the TV and the radio today. The TV tells us our first sign of identifying visitors, introducing us to the gameplay mechanic of this game, in which you have to check every guest you let in every day to make sure they don't have the signs fitting a visitor. Something interesting about the radio was that the email it gives you is a real address you can actually send emails to, in which you'll be thoroughly examined and sent to FEMA to add provided information to their database. In the meantime, they want you to register for the Civil Protection Kit. Following this email exchange, you might be questioning, what is FEMA? Who are they talking about? Because we don't know who they are yet. Checking the hall, we can now see the tall man is sitting on the edge of the sofa. We can interact with him and talk with him. He tells us more about what happened in the bar, why he got angry at everyone the way he did. He stood up on the table and told them to stop blaming everything but yourselves. He's content with their sadness but not with their madness. Hey! Your other dialogue option apart from talking to him is testing. It brings up a menu allowing you to check his teeth. He questions this. You check his teeth. They look alright. Maybe not perfect white. He's not very happy with your tests. He's pretty adamant about the fact that he's not a visitor. Going to the storage room, you can now see the cashier girl slumped down on the ground. Talking to her, she just tells you about how she lost her job, and on the way home, she noticed a couple pairs of boots outside of her home. Assuming a friend had guests over, she went upstairs, and just as she was about to see her friend's lifeless body, a man grabbed her and sat her down. Recalling this moment causes her to feel sick, so she stops talking. Checking the cashier girl, she mentions going to the dentist before, but she can't remember ever going, chalking it up to nervousness. When you check her teeth, sure enough, they're perfect and white. Choosing whether to kill her now just based off this one sign, which she does have a story for, is up to you, but you decide to leave her alone for the day. Going over to your phone, you decide to also check up on your neighbour. This conversation isn't really much different from the one you had with him in the kitchen. However, he does have a bit of dialogue that is very interesting based on what you just saw.
Maybe they just went to the dentist before everything went to hell.
It's entirely plausible that the cashier girl just is a human with nice teeth. This is bringing into question whether these signs are a be-all end-all or just things that normal humans can have. You'll have to wait for more news broadcasts to discern that for yourself. Another thing you can do on the phone is order from Forest Delivery, where you can order Energica or coffee. You decide to order the Energica. It'll come by tomorrow night. With your energy exhausted from testing your guests, all you can do now is head back to your room and go to bed to see what the next night holds.
Tonight, your first window carries the same innocence from last night. Your neighbour and daughter are playing out in their yard. The next window shatters that innocence, as the bodies of the teens you saw just last night lay lifeless on the ground, the blood still fresh. Now you're going to need to prepare yourself for the final window, for what you shall see will haunt you for the rest of the playthrough. A man as pale as death itself is standing on the footpath. There are strange folds in his skin. It's as though his flesh is the wrong size for his body. You can't see his eyes from here, but you can feel his gaze boring into you. You suddenly feel a sense of deep fear and pray that the terrifying visitor passes by your house. On day 1, the radio mentioned a pale man who haunts the streets. Now you've confirmed his existence.
The pale one.
Shaken up, you check to see who's knocking. Your delivery's here. You have the option to talk to the delivery man, but why would you? I mean, look at him, he's sub 5, not optimal. Hair not combed, not optimal for personal presentation.
Calling employee a thief, not optimal for employee's reputation in front of customers.
Talking to him, he's quite conversational. He doesn't seem to be too down considering the circumstances, even having to work the night shift and lug about excessively large orders for people. After giving you your Energiaker, he's on his way. The first real person for tonight knocks on your door. It's a scantily clad ex-con, dressed like that to avoid the heat. He doesn't seem too bad, just a little weird, and after seeing that horrific monster just moments ago, you figure it's best to have numbers in the house, so you let him in. Following closely behind the exhibitionist is a rockstar with such a cool character design. He doesn't really say much, just makes some rockstar references to a spotlight and shredding. You want to let him in, but he seems to have some beef with the tall man. I don't know you, viewer, but I personally do not stand for tall man slander. As rude as he is, you're more certain he's human than the rockstar is, so you turn the rockstar away. Your third and final guest for the night is a man dubbed Leper Guy by the wiki for his skin condition. Due to his skin, he's faced harsh discrimination, despite the fact that poor skin health isn't a visitor sign. People have become less accepting of differences in this new era, and this poor man has the short end of the stick. Because of this, you decide to let him in. Once more, you're left to question whether you've let the right people in, before you hit the hay. In the morning, you get the message. It smells like someone died tonight. The news introduces a new organization called FEMA to combat the visitors. Today's news sign is dirt under the fingernails as visitors supposedly called from underground, something your neighbor also mentioned. After the news broadcast is an ad for FEMA, claiming they're going to protect us from the visitor invasion with a lovely buddy-buddy image to pair. You also get the number to call them, 000451. The final broadcast of today is of the Pale Maniac, perhaps the same one you saw last night. The victims of the Pale Maniac were all alone, and he would talk to them before committing the murder. What you see on the screen is a sketch, and he's alleged to sometimes wear the skin of a different person. The news instructs you to never tell him you are alone. The thought of the Pale Man showing up at your door sends shivers down your spine. The radio broadcast today is an ad for a visitor spirit cleansing service. They give you a number to contact them. It's not really that important. Today, when you go to check the hall, you see trash bags on the ground, containing the pieces of the tall man who formerly sat there. The visitors killed him. The thought fills you with fear. You rush into the kitchen and see both new residents. Instantly, you check the leper guy. His teeth are perfectly white. You're not taking any chances. Not after what just happened. You raise your gun. The music changes, danger fills the air. In one decisive shot, you blow his head clean off. The fact his corpse remains means you shot correctly. If it had been wrong, it would have been in the same trash bags as the tall man. Your next bit of energy goes to testing the ex-con. You check his hands and they're clean. Recalling you have Energiaker in the fridge, you drink one so that you can test the cashier girl to ensure that she too isn't a visitor. First, you ask her more about her story. Apparently the guy who sat her down had another friend, who blocked her escape. They started touching her, first her arms then her shoulders. She could hear other voices coming from her room, like there was a whole crowd in there. At some point, they weren't paying attention to her and she bolted, ran until she passed out. You can question her about why the sun didn't boil her up. This causes her to realize she can't remember fully what happened, even though it should have been clear in her mind. She remembers passing out all through the night and then she pleads with you to tell her she's not a visitor. You don't know. This makes her even more stressed and she sits back down again. This conversation makes you even more suspicious, leading to checking her hands, and sure enough, There's dirt under the fingernails. Even she's confused on how it's there. Although she was nice to you, she's not human, so she has to go. Just like the Leaper guy, her corpse remains. Calling your neighbour today, he mentions the bodies of the teenagers which he saw whilst playing with his daughter last night. As much as he tried to hide it from her, when she got home, she mentioned seeing faces in the grass.
But back at home, she said she saw a face in the grass. I'm trying to convince her it was her imagination, but she's not really buying.
Who killed them?
It was that pale, tall thing. I thought it only killed people who stayed inside. I thought I had it under control. Figured if I ever saw that silhouette, we'd head straight back home. But I didn't think what else she might see.
The innocence from last night has been shattered. You end the call telling him to take care, and call the next number added to your wall. The psychics are honestly a nothing burger of a service. She tells you to leave a slice of bread out for your house spirit, mentions Alt F4 being off the table when you don't have a computer, and tells you not to consume mushrooms or kombucha due to their mycelium. Then they ask you if there's been any bloodshed in your home recently, which there has. The tall man died and both visitors who you just eliminated have been shot. The psychic then says it's not a visitor haunting you but a spectral soul, and because it isn't her area of expertise, the call ends. It's a scam. Probably set up by Logan Paul or something. A waste of time, you think to yourself. The final new number you got is FEMA. Calling them, they give you the option to learn more about the signs. For the T sign, you're recommended to avoid using tobacco products, and for the hand sign, you're recommended to avoid washing your hands. This is useful information for later on in the run when you may need to show people if you have the signs or not. We'll talk it out for the day once more. You head to bed for some beauty sleep. Today's window checks are a little more peculiar. Having just heard about FEMA that morning, you already see some agents around your neighbour's home. Could they be collecting soil samples? There are also FEMA agents inspecting and cleaning up the bodies of the teens, which is probably a good thing. That way there isn't any diseases that spread from their rotting corpses. A squad of armed soldiers is outside your last window as protection for the FEMA agents. You finally satisfy the heavy knocker by checking the peephole.
Howdy.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
the big bad guy the news was talking about is here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to do something about it or nah?
I'm good, bro. You got that.
Okay.
The music when talking to the pale man is harrowing, the audio manifestation of dread. What do you want?
Spacious house you've got yourself here. I like it.
I've got a gun.
Delicious. Despair gives courage to the coward, yes. So, you alone?
His face contorts into a menacing grin. His eyes roll back in anticipation. No, I'm not alone.
It's your lucky day. I can hear someone whispering inside, but who knows where they'll be in a few days.
The remaining guests are pretty normal. A bold man of the theatre who talks about his friends. You let him in. And then another bold man. But the music changes once more, signifying this man's importance. Now the music is distance, as the bold man says, "So, we meet again. I remember things were a bit different last time we crossed paths. Yet we remain alive. It's a strange thing. I don't know how to explain it. I'd like to start our conversation with a divination. Tell my fortune by choosing a page in this book. Where should I open to?" Somewhere towards the beginning. "The dead soon shall speak, but none will heed their words. Goodness me, how shockingly relevant. Though, I suppose, it's not much of a surprise to hear that now." "What does it mean?" "I need to think it through carefully. Do you have any insights to offer? Anyway, I only came here to tell you something. Events will soon begin to unfold. You need to be ready. It may sound strange, but the cat must enter. I cannot yet explain how, yet I am certain it will help you. You can choose what you do with this information, of course. As for me, I think I'll go have a ponder on the deeper meaning of your divination." These are your first encounters with the pale man and the fortune teller, but they most certainly won't be your last.
Both of these characters are integral to different endings of the story and tell us a lot, but once again, that's for later. For now, you go to bed. On today's news broadcast, FEMA has already identified a new sign for the visitors: bloodshot red eyes. Up next is an ad for and then another FEMA promotional video, which leaves a couple questions in your head about the organization. The radio broadcast today is having a special guest on, a researcher who will reveal the truth about the visitors. However, his documents were stolen and he couldn't show up. The ex-con's dialogue is a bit annoying. He just hints that he thinks you're a visitor for wearing a sweater in this heat, but he did save you last night by being in your home, so you decide to prioritize testing the theatre man. You can ask the theatre man about his friends, but he goes on a side tangent about the harsh life of theatre and being broke. Shaking his hands, they're clean, but he has some pretty nasty cuts on them. His eye has a weird dark spot on the iris under the pupil, but no redness. He seems human too, so you leave him for now. Calling your neighbour today, he talks about how FEMA came to his door and took someone. When he was in your kitchen, he had faith in the government that they would help us. But after the interaction last night, he's starting to question their intentions. Finishing the conversation with him, he has a very heartfelt message for you.
Thanks. Never thought we'd end up living through interesting times. The sun, the visitors, and now FEMA. So many questions and not a single damn answer. Neighbor, I need to ask something of you. If something happens to me, promise me you'll look after my daughter.
I promise.
Thank you, neighbor. I knew I could count on you.
It sounds like his final words, a very ominous speech. By the way, you can only call Forest once every 3 days due to the high demand. They only log one of your orders at a time over a certain time span, and numbers like the psychics are one-off encounters and cannot be called again. With your final bit of energy, you test the ex-con's eyes. Fully red, but he explains it was the sun. Given no one died last night, you leave him be. Tonight, outside your window, your neighbour's house is ablaze. He probably saw something like this coming given what he told you last night. You hope he's still alive. Worried thoughts circle in your mind. Before your next window, the window beside your door has the entire squad of soldiers massacred, one with his head missing. This is when you check your other window. The pale man mockingly holds one of the soldiers' heads. It's clear he's not through with you, and if he chooses to eliminate you, there really isn't anything you can do to fight back. Now, outside your door is a FEMA agent.
Good evening. I'm from FEMA. We're making house calls around your neighborhood, checking in with residents.
Are you alone?
No, of course not. My squad split up into a few smaller groups so we could cover more ground. This shouldn't take much of your time.
How are you going to help us?
Our first order of business is collecting more data to send to FEMA HQ. Once we do, they'll be able to develop a suitable response procedure. Right now, you just need to stay calm.
So, what happens next?
We'll take one person. We'll run tests to make sure they're okay and determine if it's safe for them to continue living in this area. And we'll verify that they're human too, of course.
Do I need a pack?
Is this your house? Then no. Stay with the other residents. If you need to evacuate, we'll let you know. We'll just take one person and be on our way. Have a good night.
You question him, but no matter what you say, he'll always take one person. Thankfully, he takes the ex-con who was pretty rude and had bad eyes. Your next normal guest is the punk girl, who glazes you a little for fighting back. I don't know, man. You let her in. Your next guest is your neighbor's daughter. She's crying. She says visitors came in and killed her father. Now her house is on fire. You made a promise to your neighbor. You let her in. Just a couple nights ago, you were watching her and her father play on the lawn. Things are getting worse, and this is only the start. Your final guest is a very strange looking lady holding a cat. The prophetic man last night told you to let the cat in, and as suspicious as this lady is, do you know the bald man?
Too many questions. Yes, I know. How will I help you?
The man seemed to know more than he let on, so you let her in too. You now head to bed and pray no one passes tonight. Today's news broadcast announces a quarantine mandated by FEMA, and the new sign is hairless armpits. Checking armpits is a bit weirder than the other signs, but nothing is over your safety. Next is a report which states that FEMA suggests being a visitor is potentially contagious, possibly a biological threat. It's best to isolate and report visitors through mandatory attendance slips, forcing the FEMA agent to take them on the next round of data collection. Here's where I'll step back from the story now that most of the intricacies of the game have been experienced. Every so often, you'll get a visit from either FEMA or the Pale Man. FEMA takes people from your house, stopping you from hoarding people who you know are human, while the Pale Man checks if you're alone, forcing you to keep letting people into your house. If you let visitors in, they kill people, and if you kill them all or FEMA takes them, then the Pale Man will game end you.
Get shift, my G! Oh, Farmer Love, it's a madness.
Essentially, you need to always be balancing your energy with your tests so that you can isolate visitors before they become a problem. And you also need to balance who you let in to ensure that you always have enough people in your house so that if they are taken in for testing or visitors kill someone, you'll always be able to eradicate the threats and not die to the Pale Man. Deeper into the game, things will get even more complex with certain characters, and checks will get harder to play around. The radio broadcast today is an ad for the phone roulette, a service that will connect you with your perfect conversation partner. Calling this number, this happens. Hello, you've reached the phone roulette service. We'll connect you with your perfect conversation partner shortly. Please hold.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
I need to talk to someone. So much has happened recently. I tried reaching out to my friends and people I know, but nobody answers. Then I found out about phone roulette. Maybe it's not the best place for me to be pouring my heart out, but I don't have much choice. I know it's not right to burden a stranger with my problems, but you have no idea how much just talking to someone will help me. It would make me feel so much better. Would you mind listening to me?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it might be easier if I tell you a little about myself. Anything in particular that you'd like to know?
You said your friends wouldn't answer?
I'd love to try calling them again, but I don't know how. When the cataclysm started, I decided to leave my hometown, fly as far as possible from the heat. I promised everyone I'd call regularly, check in with each of them and see how they're doing. But when I got here, I couldn't reach them. Later, I found out why. Their phone lines had been cut. The whole city was cut off from the rest of the world. Now I'm here, safe. But all my friends, the thought of never seeing those I care about again terrifies me. I miss the quiet days, when life felt simple and the future was something to look forward to.
Why did you go alone?
I didn't want to, but my best friend actually wanted to come with me, but he couldn't. He didn't have the papers to travel. And when the cataclysm hit, getting them became impossible. He was so crushed. He regretted not getting them sooner. I wanted to help him, but I don't know how. I think he was in love with me, you know? He cared about me so much. Always supportive, always ready to listen. Eventually, I realized we liked each other. I wanted him to confess his feelings first, but I guess he just couldn't find the right moment. And then the cataclysm started and there wasn't any time for that anymore. I regret not telling him first. Well, you know a little about me. Now it's your turn.
I'm not used to talking about myself.
Don't be shy. I'm ready to listen.
I'm lonely. I had a tough relationship with my father. I'm no longer a part of that family. Now, all that's left of them is this house.
I'm sorry. It sounds like you're not too thrilled about the house ending up with you.
Pretty much.
I can't even imagine what you went through. Hey, thanks again for talking to me. Goodbye, and stay strong, okay?
You can get more of a glimpse into your character from here. Even though you self-isolate, you still feel lonely. You also have hatred for your father, something you've been holding on to for years, and now you're living in a home that you don't even want because it reminds you of your former family every day. Something new you might notice is the rug on the floor has been disturbed, revealing a door to the basement. This was caused by the cat, who you let in just last night, and you can also interact with, pet, and pick up. The basement is the only room in the house you can walk around in. You have a lot of potatoes, a small pocket at the end full of dirt, and some more rations down there, but there's nothing you can interact with just yet. Finally, it's time to check on your guests. In the hall is the creepy looking lady. Getting a bad vibe from her, you instantly check her eyes. They're about as red as can be. Obviously you game enter. She yammers about this she being as if there really is greater powers at play other than the bald man, but she seems indifferent to death. Another corpse rests. You then talk to the punk girl and decide to try out the new test, armpits, a test she flat out refuses to let you do. In her dialogue, she elaborates on why she was glazing you last night, because in the apocalypse she admires the people that don't become perpetual victims or give in to their animalistic instincts. People like her and you, they try to survive, keeping their humanity with them until the end. Your neighbour's poor daughter stands in the kitchen. She tries to talk more about what happened to her father, but she ends up bursting into uncontrollable hysterics. You probably shouldn't test her. Her eyes would be red from crying, her hands dirty from playing outside, and her armpits clean from being a child. These tests really don't seem to be the best indicators, but it's all you really have. The theatre guide tells you more about his friends, apologising for being sidetracked the days prior. He says he celebrated his birthdays with such large swaths of people. It was amazing. But he realised they weren't really his friends. He says he made a list and figured out who to kick to the curb. You do your last check on his armpits and see something you probably wouldn't ever want to see in your lifetime. Fungal growth in the underarm area. Ugh. Trying to call your neighbour today results in an invalid call. Finally, you set in your order for Forest, 2 cans of cat food for your new kitty, and head to sleep. From this point forward, I'll only run through important events and tell you some stories of interesting characters while covering the days and new info. Tonight's window check is your neighbour's house in ruins, with the Aurora Borealis above it. Could that mean something? Window 2, the soldier's head has been placed on a stake. Outside, the skin burned off in the sun. Intimidation. Window 3, FEMA agents are examining the site of the massacre. They have more body bags this time. Straight away, you're greeted by FEMA.
Good evening. I'm with FEMA. We're running a routine inspection in your neighborhood. Don't worry, it won't take too long.
What about the last inspection?
The results were inconclusive. To study the sun's effect more thoroughly, we'll need to take someone else from your household.
I'm not interested in his tests.
You misunderstand. This is not a choice. One way or another, this is happening. The sooner you cooperate, the sooner it will all be over. If you are unable to immediately transfer a suspected visitor to a quarantine zone, issue them a mandatory appearance slip.
He takes another, but gives you a FEMA attendance slip, so you can now choose who gets taken next time. Following right up FEMA's ass is the Pale Man.
So, you're still holed up here, I see. What do you think of that guy, the one in the suit?
I don't know how to feel about him.
Why feel at all? Everything's been decided for us. A blessing. What did you say? Or do you want to fix it all by yourself?
I'm doing what I can.
And what exactly can you do? Can you ward off death? Stop the floods, the fires, the decay. The only thing you can stop is a heartbeat. So, you alone?
I'm not alone.
Still scrambling to survive in this new world, are we? Why? Dogs rule the world now, and only dogs survive here. Do you understand what I mean, yes? Things will never go back to the way they were. Life change. You're falling out of rhythm. Next time we meet, things will be interesting.
Right up the Pale Man's ass is the Prophetic Man. Wonderful. The cat's with you. What to do with the one who brought it is for you to decide. How did you know about the cat? I see further than most. A gift I was given. I don't see all, but you. I know what awaits further down the path you walk. Something terrible comes to meet you. You are not the cause, yet you will feel its touch all the same. Perhaps they'll mention it on the radio. Will you listen? What's gonna happen? I can't say more. I have already said too much. Treat this as advice if you wish, but for 2 days yonder, testing portends doom. When I first came here, I felt something strange. Now the feeling has subsided somewhat. I think we are on the right path. I hope to see you again soon. Your next non-guest encounter is your delivery. He seems upbeat, like prior. Still smiling, though he opens up that he's basically alone out here in the apocalypse. Doing these deliveries takes his mind off everything. Your next guest is a lady with the body of her dead husband on her shoulders. As she's been the only person out of the 4 other people at your door, you let her in. Your next guest is a granny, but trust me, never let her in. Bye bye, old lady. Today's news, wildfires are breaking out, and a new sign, aura film photography, in which dark blotches indicate a visitor. Undeniably, the coolest sign, closely followed by the eye sign. The TV is ads for aura film photography and Energeca. On the radio, there's a report of an explosion occurring in a quarantine zone. There were mass casualties, and they're requesting the burn team for body disposal, leading to the city being cordoned off for the time being. Talking with your neighbor's daughter, she holds up hope her family is somehow still alive and coming for her. She mentions seeing her father get up as she was running out of the house, which has its implications. The theatre guy tells you more about his friends, how they were slipping away from him. One fell asleep drunk outside in the night, burning in the morning sun, and another was murdered under suspect of being a visitor by some random people. The helplessness mixes with anger, breeding hate. When you try the film photography sign on him, he is a bright yellow on a blue background with a faint white figure beside him. Talking to the widow, she mourns the death of her husband, wanting nothing more than to sit by him at all times and grieve. Testing her teeth, they're a bright white, but not perfect. You give her a pass. Taking her photo, she crashes out, saying you want to memorialize her husband's death, but lets you do it anyway. Her photo is a deep blue with black shadows around it, but again, nothing suspicious. No more phone numbers to call. Good night. The music's different. Your first window is of a lady dragging her injured husband in front of your neighbor's house. He could be dead. You can't tell. You're left with the thought things will only get worse. Your next window, there's many bodies on your lawn, and a FEMA agent holding a gun with a smoking barrel. The final window shows panicked people frantically trying to find somewhere to stay, but no one's doors are open. Today, the view outside your peephole is astonishing. Ignoring the burning buildings, Santa says to you,
Why, hello there, dear boy.
"Who are you?"
Oh, I'm just an old coot who knows a thing or two about mushrooms, but never mind me right now. The mycelium told me something very troubling. Oh yes, the mushroom festival is upon us, and time, my dear boy, is slipping through our fingers. So please, listen carefully and heed my words well.
Mycelium?
Yes, I know it's hard for ordinary folks to understand. They speak in their own strange way. Mycelium is how the mushrooms talk to one another. I learned to hear them by studying the Book of Smiles, but what they told me last, well, let's say it's not good. They spoke of the mushroom festival drawing near, and that, my dear boy, is no good at all. No.
The Book of Smiles?
It's a special book, the most special in the world, in fact. It will tell you what must be done, but I'm afraid there's no time to read it all. It's a big book, and time's not on our side. So I just tore out the most important pages. Here, my boy, take them.
You keep them.
But why? It's just a small part of the book, and I know it by heart. Mayhap I'm just wasting precious time with you young'uns.
He's a pathway to a unique ending, but for now, you ignore his insane story and stare in horror at the entire city burning behind him. Was this caused by the sun? Visitors? Or was it man-made? There are no guests tonight. The Mushroom Man is actually a rarer encounter on this day, meaning all you'd usually get is the sight of the burning buildings and then off to bed, really letting you soak in the twisted turn the world's come to. Can you even remember the innocence of just a few nights ago? Today, the TV reports that due to unresolved circumstances, FEMA has sealed off the area. No new signs today. The next broadcast is on the origin of visitors.
Ghosts, creatures from deep underground. Rumors continue to swirl about the visitors' true origin. Are they aliens, the Walking Dead, a lab experiment gone wrong?
Nah, the government says it's a human who's come into contact with a biological agent. Afterwards is an ad for ciggies. Don't smoke, guys. The guy on the ad looks cool, but he's not. The radio broadcast is a distressed individual telling people not to go near the outskirts. FEMA are killing people. The radio cuts off on a scream for help. Starting today's conversations with the girl, you tell her she needs to accept what happened. She tactfully redirects, asking you to call her friend's parents so they can watch TV together. You steer back, to try and explain to her that her father isn't coming. What did he look like last time you saw him? He was good. They hid him, so I don't remember. I'm sorry to hear about your dad. He was a good man. Too kind for this world. The girl seems to stare through you. You're afraid to move, so you just wait for something to happen. After some time, she starts wailing again. It doesn't look like there's anything you can do for her. It would be worse to let her believe a lie. She has to learn to accept reality as soon as possible. It's a harsh world now. This is where the girl's story ends. No, she doesn't die. She just has no more dialogue. You take her photo. You never tested her, but she's not going to be a visitor. Her photo is a mix of light purples and bright pinks, the colours of wonder and innocence. The theatre man opens up about his family's struggle. Being in theatre, they really couldn't afford much, and took out loans they shouldn't have. He came home one day to his mother and grandmother badly beaten. The moment two large men showed up, instead of trying to fight back or protect his family, he ran in fear, something he still regrets. You ask the widow about the circumstances of her husband's death. She doesn't want to elaborate, nor does she want to move on from it, so you leave her be. Fun fact, you can check yourself in the mirror to see if you're showing signs. You could do this for a while now, but I'm only showing you this now because it becomes important soon. Checking your teeth, they're nice and sparkly, just like a visitor. Best not smile anytime soon, though I doubt your character ever does that anyway. You go to the cat and feed it the cat food that you got last night. His little face is hard to read, but you're pretty sure he's happy. You have a strange feeling you can sleep peacefully tonight. It feels like your furry friend has shared one of its lives with you to say thanks. Who knows? Maybe death will pass your home by tonight. As a gameplay mechanic, this stops all visitors from killing for the night. A very overpowered ability, as if you're being scummy and using the wiki, you can let in almost everyone, check their guaranteed indicators, and lock down some humans easily. You decide to try console the daughter one last time, so you call her friend's parents.
Hello?
Hi. Would it be okay if your daughter came over to play with her friend?
Our little girl, she died. We had to kill her.
What?
We killed her. It had to be done, believe me. Every sign matched what we were being told. My husband insisted. She was a visitor, you hear me? Every single sign was saying so. I knew her inside out. That's how I was able to notice the signs so quickly. Everything matched. As soon as I told my husband, he dealt with the visitor right away. I wanted to kill him myself at first, but eventually I realized that was never our daughter. My husband helped me understand that. Now, I only regret that we never asked the invader what she did to our little one. I'm sorry. Don't call here again. Please.
The world really is getting grim. Children watching their parents getting killed. Parents killing their own children, and wives who drag the bodies of their most beloved with them. Innocents being massacred by the government, or by homeowners, or the visitors. That night, out your first window, you see a group of evicted residents around your neighbour's house, probably looking for some safety. Your next window is of a crazed man with a necklace of teeth and a rifle. The final window has a hanging man, holding a sign saying, "You took everything from me." Likely talking about FEMA. Up at your door is a grizzly old man who lived out in the forest but figured it'd be best to be around people. I'll go into later the real reason why he moved away, but for now don't worry about him. Your next guest is a man with no eyes. He saw something so horrific, so haunting, that he ripped his own eyes out so they would never see it again. He describes a being, it, which consumed blackened bodies and is far more imposing than any visitor that could exist. Something so inexplicably fear-inspiring that this man has been permanently traumatized. You let him in, kicking out the grizzly man who you just let in to do so. Your final guest of the night is a fireman who got caught in the morning sun whilst putting out bushfires with his crew. He's the last survivor, using the smoke as a cover to get out of the heat. He's nothing more than a charred husk now, holding whatever little life he has left to your doorstep. You let him in too. On his way in, he hands you a theme slip before you head to sleep. This morning, the news talks about an attack on one of the quarantine zones from an armed individual.
Silence is the harbinger of death, a sinister quiet that drains the soul. But worse than the emptiness is the ringing, a distant funeral knell growing ever louder. The bells toll for us all, filling our ears with endless din, filthy thoughts caught in webs of wax, an infernal nest where visitors thrive, tangle deep in sticky sustenance. Saruman in abundance, Saruman in abundance, Saruman in abundance.
It's a very strange broadcast, revealing an ear sign, but one I wouldn't blame you for questioning. However, nothing is said about it. Up next is an extension on the report of the attack, claiming it could potentially be a group, and also that corpse disposal has been suspended, but if you can, burn the bodies of the deceased. This is where things get interesting, as the radio broadcast directly contradicts the news for the first time. It claims that
those aren't the ones who attacked the quarantine zone,
and then continues saying what it actually wasn't human. The second time in a short period, you've heard someone refer to an it being. Instantly, you connect the dots and talk to the eyeless man. You ask him what he saw, but he wishes not to subject you to what you couldn't imagine. He talks about seeing it in his dreams often. You check his eyes. Sure enough, they're just empty sockets. Side note, by the way, his dialogue is hilarious. Like, when you go to take his photo, he's like, "Just use the flash, I don't care." And the photo itself is insane. Bright red dots where his eyes used to be. And then he's like, "You won't even show me how it turns out?" He's got a good character. The fireman tells you he might not make a week, but thanks you, regretting leaving his crew behind to die in a stranger's house instead of with them. You take the fireman's photo. It's all a jagged orange with a black shadow around him. Nothing suspicious, but he really is nothing more than a burned corpse right now. Your conversation with the theatre man is over. May as well hand him a slip so that you can explore the other characters without them being nabbed up early. Talking to the widow about her memories with her husband, she recalls when they were younger. He played a song, so beautifully, which entranced the widow. When her friends wanted him to play more, he quickly up and left.
I found out later that he's only learned that one single song to impress me. I still have a photo of us from that night. It's seen better days, just like us. Now you can't play for me anymore. You sung me your last song.
With all that done, you order some cat food and head to bed. Boom. The evicted residents have settled in your neighbor's basement. How long can they afford to stay there? Who knows. Boom. Starving dogs in your yard. Bellies growing slim and the aurora borealis once more. Probably best not to go out right now. Boom. People from the quarantine zones quietly enter former residents' homes, the hanging man acting as a grim welcome sign. The night starts instantly with a FEMA check.
Hello, We require more test subjects from you. The sooner we get them, the better.
What's going on in the city?
Repercussions. Keep resisting and there'll be even more outbreaks that need wiping out. Hiding visitors only makes them multiply. And that only leads to more violence.
How long is all this going to continue?
We're still studying the cause of these events. Stay out of our way. Hard to say when things will return to normal. We need to run more tests to keep things under control. Cooperate with us, and this will all be over before you know it.
So what now?
We need people. Two, to be precise. It'll speed things up. This is all for the best.
No, I'm done.
For fuck's sake. Have it your way. You enjoying the view behind me? That's what happens when stubborn assholes like you get in our way. Resist and it'll happen again. We care about this city. Just give us people. You'll get them back soon. Thank you.
This dialogue brings up the question of what happened to the city. Maybe it wasn't the sun. Maybe it was FEMA. It's a very explosive conversation. The worker seems to be subtly threatening you, and he takes two people, fireman and theater guy. There's a growing tension between residents and FEMA. Your next guest is another non-guest, the cult leader.
Yes, your house is perfect. I can feel it.
Yes, and it's mine.
That is correct. Death is everywhere. Some were burned, some dragged out and executed. Death's taken a liking to you, yes?
You look like some kind of cultist freak.
Perhaps I do. Is that such a bad thing? This is my shroud. There will be need of it once I die. This way there's no need to find cloth to wrap our dead. We don't believe in salvation, not unless it comes from death herself. She's already near. We're simply helping her cross the threshold.
So, what is it you want?
We must perform the burial rites in ways and your house is perfect for it, yes. Death's influence is strong here. What's been happening here anyway, in any case? Let my brothers trespass here. Protect them. They must survive long enough to complete their tasks.
Not exactly burning with excitement at the prospect.
Perhaps you'll end up burning after all. Watch over my people, and remember, if one of them dies, your house will be reduced to nothing. Forgive me, but there would be no other way to accomplish our divine mission.
I don't like being threatened, but fine, I'll help.
Thank you. They shall not need much time, but still, watch over them. See you later. I'll come to check on you.
He gives you his brethren, whom you always have to accept. The next character you saw outside your window last night. The crazed man.
Keeping your distance, huh? Good. That's what improves your odds of survival. Unless you're a visitor.
Who are you?
Someone who's here to clean up the filth my neighborhood's dealt with. You don't need to know nothing else about me.
What's with the gear? Is that supposed to make you visitor-proof?
Visitor-proof? Yeah? You mean this necklace? That's a good term. I'll have to start using that. It's just a reminder. So I don't forget how many houses and how many towns I've purged. I pull a single tooth from each visitor. They're the easiest trophies to take. And if one really leaves an impression on me, I might just take someone else.
So why are you here?
Hold it. You already asked your questions. Now I'll ask mine. Anything going on in this neighborhood? Any threats I should keep an eye out for?
A half-naked visitor annihilated an entire patrol.
Just one? Half naked? So he wasn't wearing any protective armor. Interesting. You actually saw him? Yeah, I believe you did. You don't talk like someone who's in the habit of spreading rumors. You've got my attention. I'll be back later.
This won't be the last time you see him, and the next time he'll be a lot more dangerous. The delivery man looks down today. His coworker got taken by FEMA due to red eyes. What if due to lack of sleep, your man gets red eyes too? He doesn't smile this time. A week in the apocalypse has damaged him.
You're not with FEMA, are you?
The conspiracy theorist claims to know all kinds of secrets, so of course you let him in. He's the last guest for the night. Time to sleep.
The news today is a hint of FEMA glaze and a new sign of bleeding gums, followed up by a report on a dangerous cult. You were told of the charges against them, including ritual sacrifice and potential ties to visitors, and if you're seen aiding them, you could be punished. The radio today is a broadcast from your neighbour's house. The evicted residents are in desperate need of food and are willing to house anyone who can bring it, though it's probably not a good idea to let others know of their existence. The cultists are in the office. While the leader did threaten you, you decide to give them FEMA slips. It's best not to aid them now. Given all their rituals, it's likely they'll track positively to every sign, so it's really not worth testing them. Besides, no one died last night, which would make it incredibly unlikely any of them is a visitor. Your kitchen is a party now. The blind man tells you he knows he'll never see it again, and that although he can't even see where he resides, it's difficult making his way around, and his sockets would ache if not for the meds he's on. There's comfort in not being able to see it again. However, it is also etched into his mind for eternity. You decide to check the Eeriest hands. They're clean, but there's scribbles all over them. Checking his photo, it's as though his mind has ascended. Whether that gives him and his ideas more credibility is up to you. The thing he says to you are about papers he has. One stating visitors are a government plan to bring the population, which he seems to justify, and then assume his justification is true, and therefore the idea is true. He's a strange man. Talking to the widows, her feelings of grief are mixing with anger at her husband's death, and recalling how when he got taken from the hospital to a FEMA zone, because that is a thing FEMA did, I'll go over it later, he died in the zone and she had to go out of her way to find out, only to be told, "Yeah bruv, he died lol," and not even get to see him. She snuck in, found him, rage and despair seeped together, and she's here now. There's actually other sides to the story. No exact confirmation of connection, but many of the characters in the game are linked. Checking your own armpits. You have the same disgusting growth under your arms as the theatre guy, so you wash it off. Anyway, you finally call FEMA and ask them about the ear sign, if you can remember the suspicious news broadcast from day 8. FEMA too seem confused, and don't actually give you a response. Just to confirm your suspicions, you crack the last Enerjaker and check the Eeriest's ears. Interestingly, he says that you heard the only truthful news broadcast before you check his ears for pretty much nothing. Once more, your energy's exhausted, so you head to bed. Your first window confirms your doubts about the residents revealing their location. The Vigilante holds them all at gunpoint with crazed shouting to be heard. Your second window, the dogs are dead. The Aurora Borealis gone and FEMA agents are taking notes. Out your final window, the FEMA officers have finally found the hanging man, looking like clueless detectives. The first guest of the night is the Mushroom Man, who was just a little peeved you didn't do what he wanted. Now, a tragedy is Jesus. And now a tragedy is coming. Your next guest is a large woman with probably a southern accent. Your house is pretty full at this point, and you're fairly certain there isn't a visitor in. Oh my days. There isn't a visitor in it, so why risk letting her in? She's one of the rare characters that, when rejected at the door, she starts knocking on your walls. Ignoring the toxic loser, you check the peephole.
Oh man, just topped him off like it was nothing!
You feel that? Changes haunting you. So am I. And now one of your ilk is deathless. All because of a word. One single word. But what a word it is. You know who I mean, yes. Strange things happen around you.
I don't care.
Detached, are we? Don't even care anymore? Let's fix that. If there are at least 2 of us inside your house, you'll open the door for me.
Can you come back later?
Shame. I'll leave, for now. But before I go, let's try out that gamble. You alone?
I'm not alone.
Well, even we are a rare sight now, let alone your kind. Locked in their walls, change isn't the worst thing coming for you. You don't think I lead the pack, do you? There are far greater things out there. I simply follow orders. Well then, until we meet again.
The next lady is the most obvious bait of this entire game.
Guys, you think I'm about to fall for the oldest trick in the book? You're trying to seduce your way in, lady? You succeeded, come on in. Let's escape.
Hell no! Get out! Georgie pulls up to your door next. He seems erratic and isn't very understandable. He mumbles about someone being there, but it's all wrong. And leaves. You can't let him in or anything. Bro, I literally just woke up. Why can I hear her still knocking? Like, can you do something about this, guys?
Nah, she's chill.
The news today reveals the skin irritation sign and announces further investigation into the attack from a couple days ago, with the following broadcast talking about raging wildfires. There's someone on the radio, frantically warning people that FEMA is suppressing radio signals, blaming FEMA's murders on the criminals who attacked them, and to run while you still can. FEMA is trying to kill you. The cultist photos are all kind of similar, with nothing too noticeable. The afraid one has a greenish blue aura, the solemn one an orange blue, and then the hunched one has a mix of the prior two's colours, which is green, blue and orange. The blind man recounts a dream he had last night about it. I had a dream last night. I was walking along the tram tracks, heading home. Houses, trees. I heard the trolley coming and stepped to the side. I turned around and saw something snatch a man in the street. It moved so fast, I could barely see it, but I know what it was. I ran after the trolley, but I never got close. I'll never reach it, never reach the truth that hides at the end of the line. Then I woke up. The conspiracy theorist has some more theories for you, that FEMA are the visitors and that they stand for the facility of eradicating mankind altogether, but then he doubts himself. It's hard what to make of him. The widow tells you she's leaving. She wants to go home and find that old guitar. You can offer her to stay, but she doesn't want to.
I just want to go home, to be back where I belong.
With that she leaves, and that's her entire story. Before you head to bed, you feed the cat some cat food, and clock off. The crazed man killed them all. Every single evicted resident. Hungry dogs tear at their remains. Things really are going insane. Your next window furthers this as cultists pile wood, probably looking to start a fire. How many more innocents will die for their cause? There he is, the crazed man, with a gas can and a Molotov cocktail. Looks like he's gonna burn all the houses of people in lockdown. Hello, FEMA.
We need more people. It's the only way to avoid a catastrophe.
Where are the people you took?
Cut the bullshit. The world is about to end. Keep playing games and we'll take everyone in this house.
What the fuck is the point of your agency if nothing you're doing is working?
I'm out of patience. I'm not arguing with you. Either we break down the door and clear out this whole damn rat's nest, or you hand over 2 people right now. You're not the first to try and resist us. We dealt with them. We'll deal with you too.
I'm not handing over anyone else.
It's like talking to a fucking wall. Here's what's gonna happen if you don't cooperate. We break down your door, take everyone. We leave you behind to die alone. So we're taking 2 people now! And then we'll be on our way.
Thankfully, he takes 2 cultists, but it's clear there's only animosity between you two. Next up is, Oh, by the way, that, FEMA, like the dude in the white suit that you just saw walk past you, yeah, he's got your boys. I won't read his dialogue here, but he's just upset that you didn't take care of his flock and leaves. Even though one is technically alive, he'll state they're all dead for some reason. Who would show up next, but...
I'm back. Tried to find us someone I mentioned. No luck. But I went through a few houses. This place crawling with visitors. Did FEMA give up on this town? Or just this block?
How do you spot a visitor?
Hell, same way you do, I'd bet. The TV and radio spelled it out for us. One sign is enough to put them down. I don't hesitate for a second. Now since I'm here, tell me, do you know a stocky guy who wears a blue denim jacket? He's got a kid. Little girl. Not sure how old. The wife? Well, fuck the wife.
Only the girl made it out. Your guy's dead.
Show me you're not one of them. Any part of you will do. You got a gun? Fuck if I care. We'll both go down shooting then. Show me your hands. Clean? Yeah, of fucking course they're clean. Let me tell you something. Here's a tip. The ones who look normal, they're always the first to turn. I haven't got time for this bullshit. I'll test you properly next time.
This is the first time someone else has tested you. Thankfully you pass, knowing your teeth are bright white, and the Vigilante moves on. This is what I'll call the pointy end of the game. The FEMA visit last night was the last one for the rest of the game, meaning you don't have to worry about your numbers dwindling. For the most part, no other non-guest character based endings are available to you now, and it's pretty much a straight slog to the final few days. The formatting for the next few days is going to be a little different, and I'll really skim over everything except important characters and the door, and continuing the stories of characters I've been going over. Today's sign is fungal growth under the armpits, and the radio is a choppy mess saying don't burn the bodies. Remember that, it could be important. The blind man describes another dream in which it chased him, and he fumbled about until he saw it, reaching for him. The dialogue ends. The theorist tells you that maybe two pale men exist, one outside windows and one at the door because they do look different, but then says the window distorts your view or whatever. You order some cat food, crack a beer and head to sleep. The bodies across the yard have been burnt to a crisp, and some thing has scared the dogs away. Let's be honest, it was Pyrocynical's forehead.
How? No, show me. How is this receding? This is a normal hair, this is normal hairline. This is normal. That is not receding at all. That is a completely normal hairline. There is no receding there.
The cultists have tied themselves around the fire pit. Looks like a ritual sacrifice. Just last week, there were teenagers chilling outside with no care in the world. In just 10 days, a fully fledged cult is preparing a ritual sacrifice for death. This is seriously insane. The Vigilante set fire to every house on the street. The dialogue box states, you'll meet the lunatic face to face. It's only a matter of time. The game is pushing towards its end. For his final appearance, the unkempt delivery man trudges to your door. He says another delivery man was killed by a homeowner when delivering his goods. Why would someone do such a thing? The delivery man did nothing wrong. He also recalls when he said being a delivery man took his mind off things. That's not true anymore. With that, he leaves. Next up is the goat!
They told me this would be our last little chat. Everything is coming to an end, either by our hands or your own.
What's coming to an end?
Can't say. Funny how you feel nothing at all. Don't worry, we can help.
Why do you keep coming here?
You only just now thought to ask that. Have you considered that you were chosen? They send me for a reason, to change something. But the outcome's always the same. You'll die. If not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then later. You will disappear. But for now, have you let any of us into your home?
I didn't let anyone in.
Why so tense? Clinging to life like that. What's left that matters? You're all alone now. So, you're alone?
I'm not alone.
So you are ready. Do you feel fear? Yes. Still can't take matters into your own hands. That's why I'm here.
The next 3 guests are random, but as your house is pretty safe right now, you reject all 3. The pale man not entering just a moment ago confirms you have at most 1 visitor, due to his little gamble, and so letting anyone else in right now is more dangerous than it is beneficial. Okay, I know I just made a pyro joke, but I forgot this guy came on this night for me, and it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah. And then... Oh, fuck!
The news states that radioactive materials have been mixed into the lakes, which is being evaporated and causing acid rain. The news sign is rapid pupil movement. The radio is now a signal for FEMA officers, leaving a dispatch not to burn the bodies. Repeating what you heard yesterday, but why? The blind man is particularly nihilistic now. You ask him about his dream. Yes, but I don't want to talk about it. I understand now. We're all going to die. It will tear us apart, awake or asleep. We will all burn. Nothing matters anymore. It's over. Leave me, please. He's very ominous here, but here's where I'll tell you that he is a character who is always human. This makes his story important. What he saw was a human experience, not a visitor lie. What caused him to rip his eyes out could happen to you, and the scariest part about this is that you have no idea what it was. The conspiracy theorists' main points are that whatever you believe in is right for you, but others will believe differently, and then that the visitors infect via brain parasite, so you need to wear earplugs. We'll memory hole that information for later. There's nothing else to do really, so it's time to get some rest. The bodies are no longer scorched into the earth. What remains is a shapeless sludge, as if some being melted the skin and bones before consuming the rest. A dark sinking feeling grows in the pit of your stomach, right as you check the next window. There are FEMA agents, but more importantly, something horrifying dashes past your view. It's dark, unknown, and far more intimidating than the visitors of prior nights. The cultists' face are twisted in an unsettled, deep fear. They saw something before they died, something far scarier than the fate they had just condemned themselves to. For the last time this run, you see the Aurora Borealis above the rubble of the neighbouring houses. While families, innocents, and the like burned alive last night, tonight they are nothing. Your first guest of the night is the culprit of this attack.
I'm back. Not sure why the hell I bothered though. If my brother hadn't been so gutless, maybe he could have kept his wife and kids safe. Now who knows where that Brad is?
How are you holding up?
Same as always. I even told my brother, man up, look out for your family. And what did he do? Folded like a total pussy. Now his family is either buried or in fucking pieces. How do you think the world ended up in this whole mess to begin with? It's because of cowards like him. Saw a family not too long ago. Stocky died, held it together, even with the visitors screaming at his windows. Got his family out the back door, ran off into the woods. I put down the freaks, but they never came back. Thought they were done for, but days later, they found me. First one through the trees, his daughter, shotgun in hand, eyes wild but alive. That's what I respect. Nothing like my brother. If he died sooner, his family might have made it. Anyways, that's enough story time. I'm testing you. Show me you're not one of them. Open those damn eyes wider. Quit fucking with me. Alright. Still doesn't mean you're safe. You're all free to go. For now. I don't got time for this shit. I'm done here. You won't ever see me again. Enjoy what's left.
You pass the final tests and he leaves for good. Your next guest is a homeless man who was just checking if anyone was home for a nice place to rest. But from now on, you will never see the Vigilante, Pale Man, or FEMA again, so you may as well let him in for fun. The following guest is a former doctor who can no longer work on patients as there are no more hospitals. You let him in too. That's all. Good night. The broadcast today is the most ominous of the lot. No presenter, just a FEMA logo and an announcement. FEMA has overthrown the government.
Justin from FEMA. Fugitives have broken through the citywide lockdown. We repeat, fugitives have broken through and are now at large. Barricade your windows, lock your doors, await further instructions, and stay inside.
The radio once more is a patchy mess, and whoever it is needs backup. They cannot contain the subject. It's probably referring to that. Now, whilst I test and kill the remaining visitors in the house, let me round off a character's story. From the moment we let him in, the blind man was slowly consumed by the thing he saw. It chased him beyond his sight, into his dreams, and into this very house. Even though he tried all he could to avoid seeing it again, he knew it was only getting closer and closer. The greatest horror. Something so unimaginably torturous to a human mind that it drove him here. Hanging from your kitchen ceiling is the blind man's corpse. He couldn't hold on to life anymore. He tried to live in the past few days, but realized he couldn't run forever. For the moment it was placed in his mind, he was doomed. And yesterday he accepted that. As he is always human, this is a tragic story. He didn't choose for this to happen, it just did. And the mere thought of it drove him to the final solution. So it turns out that the conspiracy theorist was a visitor this whole time, so you kill him. Shaken by the traumatizing sight in your kitchen and exhausted from the past 12 days of maddening, worsening terror, you go to bed. You can try and check your windows, but there's no time for this today. You go to your door and it looks like no one's coming tonight. Maybe they're all terrified of the fugitives, the acid rain, getting caught in the sun, getting caught by visitors or by it. Or they could be scared of FEMA, or crazed people like the Vigilante. Whatever the reason, you go to bed. By the time you wake up, you think to yourself, it's time to board up. Things will only get worse. And you have to do what you need to survive. The first window. Gotta defend yourself any way you can. You can't open the doors. Your second window. The world's cursed, but there's still a chance to survive. The final window. You make your way down into the cellar with the other survivors. It's cooler down here, but the air still feels heavy with unease. If you ration carefully, your food stores should last for a month or two. You seal the door. No one will be able to get in now. You keep track of the days by marking the cellar wall. Waiting for the end drags on for nearly 2 months. Some hope the sun will finally burn the ground to ash or fade into darkness. Others seek the end on their own terms. Dragging out the inevitable is more painful than a swift end. No one envies the living. One day you catch an announcement on the radio. Solar activity is fading. Scientists predict that in a couple of days, it will be safe to go outside during daylight hours. You feel disappointment. You realize you'll live through this year after all, but then what? Will next summer be the last? The thought of waiting for the end is a suffocating burden. But at least one of the others seems happy. Who knows? Maybe there's still a decade left ahead of you. And that is what we'd call the good ending in most horror games. But in No I'm Not a Human, it's more lethargic. They don't leave you with a happy, you survived, good job. It's more a, you survived, now what? The first ending leaves a lot of questions about both incomplete plot threads and of the core mysteries of the game. All things considered, that run went incredibly smoothly. Due to both luck and playing around certain nights to avoid deaths, if you think about it, only the tall man died by visitors, and every person you killed was a visitor. A pretty flawless run. On your first night of being able to accept people, the tall man and cashier girl always show up. The tall man being rude and with an obscured face, an intimidating presence, yet he is someone who is guaranteed human, regardless of his attitude. On the flip side, the cashier girl is scared, kind and pitiable. She appears far smaller in comparison to the tall man and seems to pose no threat, yet she is always a visitor. Other characters who I got very lucky with, such as the widowed woman and the blind man, are always human. And the fireman daughter, who are set encounters and show up at the same point in every run, are also both human. This makes it even easier to avoid deaths, as visitors only kill someone when there are at least two of them, as visitors strike when they are the majority. A 2-on-1 is easy, or for the pale man a 1-on-1. Some people I didn't let in, such as the old lady and the character dubbed Big Mama, are always visitors. Most of the other casts are random and require testing to determine their alignment. But the thing about the tests is that they're kind of bullshit. When we look at the cashier girl's signs, she tracks positively to nearly every single one, including the suspicious ear sign, in which there's a bug in her ear, so that makes sense. Now let's look at this character, the taxi driver, who can be either of them, human or visitor. Considering the top half is his visitor signs and the bottom is his humans, it makes sense, right? Clean teeth, dirty fingers, red eyes, it means a visitor. And yeah, the hair in the armpits is kinda off, especially considering the human side has no hair, but 3 differences to 1 makes it pretty clear what his visitor giveaways are. Well, actually no, his clean teeth, dirty fingers, and red eyes indicate he's human. And the visitor version of the taxi driver tests negatively to all 3 of these signs. It just makes the tests feel more and more random, as some characters even have differences in the suspicious ear sign, or show the exact same sign as the human counterpart, but have a different dialogue in response to the test. Speaking of the signs, you might be wondering about the only character in the game who tests you, the Vigilante. The Vigilante comes to your door 3 times in the mid to late game, testing you twice. If you don't prepare for this, like test yourself and see what you track positively to, there could be dire consequences, but I'll go over that later. In his dialogue with the character, we learn he purged his hometown of visitors. Whether that means he killed everyone and just assumed that they were visitors, or was truly cleaning up visitors, is up to you to contemplate. But now that he's here, he's going to clean up the filth. We also learn that he is our neighbour's brother. However, he came too late to save him and scorns his brother for being too weak for this new era. The Vigilante is irrational and kills anyone who has any sign positive, no questions asked. As a gameplay mechanic, the Vigilante is a way to control your resources. Drinking Energeika and coffee makes your eyes red and causes rapid pupil movement, so overdoing it can cause you to present the wrong sign to the Vigilante. There are certain actions you can take in the game that dirty your fingers, and your armpits will slowly grow the fungus, probably accelerated if you drink kombucha, meaning you have to check it beforehand so you can wash it. Adversely, smoking causes your white teeth to turn yellow, which in this game helps you. By the way, if you try to show him your ears, he'll say, "That's not a real check," and turn on you. Anyway, in the situation you present the wrong sign to the Vigilante, this happens.
You son of a bitch. Fuck ass visitor. Thought you could trick me? Time to die, bastard.
You hear a madman behind the door spitting furious words with raw aggression. You can only wait, hoping nothing will happen. The haze of rage in the eyes of an armed man is more terrifying than any visitor. you hear his shallow wheezing. Bastard! He got me! Thought he'd drag it out since I didn't go down easy. But what about the... He's gone quiet. You should probably check he's actually... Because of scum like you, so many are dead. People like you killed my friend. And people like you will never let anybody live in peace. What? You think no one will fight back? These minds, damned by insanity. And now I've lost everything, but you still something left to lose. I'll crush you. I'll drive you deep into the ground. I'll drown everything in your blood. Every bastard with a weapon in their hands dies today.
In this ending, you kill the Vigilante. Enraged by his inhumane treatment of innocents, you lash out at every person even similar to him, until you become the feared man with the weapon. What he did took everything from you. Everyone who mattered, and so you retaliated. If you can't have anything, neither should they. You are essentially the critic of what you are to become. Where the Vigilante reduced humans to signs, and a single pass meant death, you reduce humans to a weapon, in which having one means death too. Whether for self-defense or not, your mind, damned by insanity, strikes against all of them. The Vigilante ending is what we'd call a bad ending. You don't reach towards a true end, rather, you made a mistake, and lost your mind because of it. This isn't the only example of this in No I'm Not a Human. Something similar happens in the Pale Man ending. But first I promised to go over this man's story. The bearded man is someone you ran into in the first run of your game, but kicked out to let the blind man in. The reason he is so important is because of the context, or lore, he gives to another important character, the Pale Man. He says he lived way out in the woods, fully off the grid. He heard of the events going on via radio, and decided he wouldn't let anyone in. Too skeptical to trust a single soul. He also mentions there being a reason he left his cabin, and then says, looks like you've seen him too. You then confirm that the Pale Man was the cause, but he doesn't want to go any deeper than that now. The next day he'll go more into it, so I'll just tell the full story. The bearded huntsman holed himself up in his little cabin deep in the woods. One day someone showed up to his door, banging on the windows and begging to be let in. The man was pale and shaken up, as if he'd seen death itself. He didn't look like a typical hiker, so it was very odd to be out in the woods alone. The bearded man, suspicious, told him to beat it. The man even tried to break a window to get in, until the bearded man announced that he had a rifle, and the man fled. He figured that would be the last time he saw that man. That night, the bearded huntsman stayed in his cabin, but ran out of firewood. He went out to go get some. By the time he came back, his rifle was missing. Rattled, he searched through everything until he saw him, the same pale man from before, outside one of his windows. And he had the rifle. But something was different. He was taller, skin sagging and nothing on but a pair of pants. He held the gun in both hands and snapped it, as if it were a twig. Then he just stood there, staring at the bearded man as if he was going to snap his neck. But he didn't. He just stared. By dawn, the man vanished. Not being a fool, and knowing that being unarmed deep into the woods is incredibly dangerous, the bearded man fled until he was at your doorstep. He says to you that he was confused as to why the pale man didn't just kill him. He clearly had the power to, but didn't do it. Not much scares a gruff bloke like him, but the pale man certainly does. There are a couple things we can dissect from this story, the first being that the visitors were once human, or at least they probably all were. Another example of this is the cat lady, who can actually be seen in the opening cutscene from before the events of the tragedy. It also gives us a little insight into what could have possibly happened to the Pale Man, or why he acts the way he does. Obviously there is a being that is known to have a sight so terrifying it's akin to death itself, that being it, which the Pale Man could have seen, and was why he was so desperate to escape, as normal visitors just look like humans. When he wasn't let in by a man cooped up on his own, he could have been killed, or changed in some way by it, causing him to become a superpowered version of a visitor, one with such strength and durability to take out an entire armed platoon, and far more coherent and aware of his position than other visitors. Or maybe there's another being, whose will the Pale Man is acting out. His murder, caused by the ignorance of the bearded man, could be used to explain his behaviour, in which he spares those who let others in, but if someone is cooped up alone, well, you can only imagine what happens. In the early game, he is there to ensure you are letting people in and actually playing the game, and later on, when he introduces his gamble, he's making sure that you're getting rid of people and not letting all visitors just sit in your house, as they can't be killed by other visitors. Having more than one visitor during his gamble also leads to the Pale Man ending, and you will know when you have more than one because that's when someone dies during the night. So in the instance you are either alone, admit to being alone even if you're not, or have more than one visitor during the times he checks in the late game, this happens.
Running. Always running from those like me, from the truth. Why? What are you clinging to? Everything will be over soon. So why resist?
Even days later, the house remains empty. Everyone avoids it like a dark omen. More rumors swirl than the number of those who ever called it home. The house, just like the final traces of its owner, has been lost to time. No relatives ever come to collect what was left behind. The homeowner simply vanished, as if they had never existed at all. Everything that belonged to them is lost, worn away, or forgotten. Why do people disappear so completely? Once death finds you, the proof you ever existed begins to fade almost immediately. Belongings, creations, thoughts, memories, emotions, all dissolve into the void. There is no more you, only nothingness. As if you were never a part of this world to begin with. The ending is much more philosophical than the last two, as if the Pale Man's gruesome murder of you was a poetic end to your story. The hermit, who preferred loneliness, died from being alone, and even in death, his existence and everything tied to it remained alone. The ending scenes talk about the complete erasure which death is, the finality of it, how the combination of time, death, and isolation causes someone to be forgotten for eternity, and how the place you considered special to you never considered you special within it. I personally like this ending. No, it's not a good ending, and also occurs because you made a mistake, but even still, it's an ending you're kinda meant to see. First time players will likely hit this ending in their first or second run, and most players won't even make it to the first, or the good ending as I dubbed it, so when it comes to getting the vibe and message of the game across, this ending should be representative of that. When it comes down to it though, this is just a straight up skill issue,
because unless you're bad at the game, this isn't happening to you.
What's happening? What the frick is happening? Oh my god!
The next, based on a mistake, ending is very similar to the first ending, or the good ending. You guessed it, it's the bad version of the good ending. To get the good ending, you need to be on the top of your game, confirming for sure who is a visitor and who is not. This is easy to do with prior knowledge of guaranteed signs, understanding who is guaranteed to be what they are, if they are, or if you're using the wiki, and basically cheesing the game. You might have been wondering to yourself though, what if I mess that up? I make it to the late stages of the game, but I forgot to order items that I need. I didn't ration out my energy properly, or I'm unsure about who is human and who isn't inside my house. In that case, you'll run into a few problems. This is also a situation you'll find more likely in the early game, where you have limited energy and could have potentially far more guests, but there's a possibility to be here in the late game too. There is a couple bad things about being unsure about having too many visitors in the house. Sure, it's more likely female will take a visitor and the pale man won't come in, even if there is a visitor, until there's a little gamble. But spending too much time around them isn't a good idea. This gets into the whole what actually are visitors discussion, and if they are a contagious condition, which I'll go into later. But if you have too much exposures to visitors during a run, something peculiar will happen when you wake up one night. The doors. Every single one is caved in. Things look different. You're shorter. You can't enter the rooms, nor can you check anything. Going back to sleep and waking up, you realize that everyone died last night. Does that mean you killed every single person in your house and simply wasn't conscious to experience it? Only remembering a small snippet from last night? Or was it a dream and something else got inside and tortured you with the nightmare, causing you to believe it was you? Again, I'll go over this later when I'm discussing potential theories on what the visitors could be, but for now, if you find yourself in that position to the end of the game, where there could be visitors in your home when it's time to board up, this happens. Together with the survivors, you make your way down into the cellar. It's cooler down here, but the air still remains heavy with unease. If you ration carefully, your food stores should last for a month or two. You seal the door. No one will be able to get in now. You keep track of the days by marking the cellar wall. The wait for the end drags on for nearly 2 months. The sun isn't the only threat looming overhead. Trust fades. Paranoia grows sharper by the day. You feel the stares. Cold, calculating, alien. The fear of death has paralyzed you. It's all about to end. Escape doesn't even cross your mind. There's nowhere left to run. Terror blinds you. It wasn't just humans you let into your home. They tear you apart. Darkness floods your vision. Pain sears through your body. A small, lonely house takes shape in your mind. You hope it will be over soon. It's hard to hold on to. The pain fades as you slip further away. Welcome, me. I put the Pale Man and the Visitor endings close together because their titles are the antithesis of one another. Yes, I'm alone, and no, I'm not alone. Both situations causing you to be killed by visitors. However, I find the I'm not alone statement to be far more terrifying, as unlike the Pale Man, you do not know your killer, or your end, and the impending doom. Thinking for months someone down there with you, in such a small, intimate space, has the desire and power to kill you, is much more excruciating than the immediate death from the Pale Man. Eventually it does happen, and as you are dying, you see your lone house, or perhaps just a lone house. Whatever it is, it's the last thing you think of before you die, and welcome yourself to death. It is a little confusing at first. Why did the visitors wait 2 months? Just to drive you mad in fear, before eventually overpowering you and killing you? And why is the house so important? It's shown up in nearly every ending so far. Sure, it's the only place in which you experience the confines of the game, but why is it so important to the character? Even though on the phone call with the phone roulette, he sounded like he didn't want it. Now, all that's left of them is this house.
I'm sorry. It sounds like you're not too thrilled about the house ending up with you.
Pretty much. I personally believe the reason it took so long to kill you is because the visitors weren't consciously visitors at that point in time. Or if they were, they could have been doing the classic hide your bite like in those stupid zombie movies.
You got bit! It felt like maybe I was special.
Special? You're not special! I'm special! I was bit 10 minutes ago and I'm...
Great!
But eventually got overtaken, losing their humanity among the innocents locked with them. Whereas for the house, well, we'll get into that later. For now, there's one more ending, based on a mistake which you could easily make when chasing other certain endings. Allow me to introduce you to these two sisters. They are a pair of guests who come to your door and are random whether they're human or visitor. And while they aren't exactly important to the story, there is something interesting about them. One sister is depressed, and the other cares for them. The depressed sister seems indifferent to the calamity going on, and talks about there being a blanket of chains on her which she desires to remove. She talks about how unimportant we are, and if the sun really is exploding, no one will mourn us anyway. Something her sister fears. Her sister, on the other hand, the smoker, is slightly more optimistic. She helps out her twin with things like taking a bath, but fears that if there's ever a need to run, her sister won't find the strength to do it. She has a husband, who told her if the sun really was exploding, we'd be dead in 10 minutes. Something she believes, but is getting worried about him, and gives you a randomly generated number to call him. Calling that number, the husband picks up. The husband has lost all hope for himself, and apologizes for essentially abandoning her. But depending on your dialogue option, of course, he was either too scared of the world's predicament, froze up and wants everything to end, or he acknowledges, his wife's sister as a weak person and someone his wife could never let go of. He's sorry. He goes to tell you to express that to his wife, but then he retracts that and says goodbye. Talking to the depressed sister on day 4, she tells you that her sister is going to look for her husband, and so she does. The next day, the 5th and final day to talk to these two, the smoker sister tells you that she found her husband, dead. He had ingested a pill they bought together at the start of the catastrophe, planning to take it if things went too far. But he took it alone, without her, and left her to find his corpse with no sense of closure. The depressed sister calls the husband a coward, but now the roles have swapped, as she now has to take the initiative to care for her sister, but also that eventually there won't be anything to be worried about or ashamed, nor to fear. These characters are your introduction to the intertwined nature of the characters in this world, and the depressing and harsh reality certain people find themselves in. Out of love for one another, these two sisters go through great lengths to care for each other. Even after the blows to her family in the start of the apocalypse, the smoker twin is still optimistic, until she no longer can be. And then the depressed sister, still the same person who showed up 5 days ago, now has to take care of her emotionally broken twin. Also, if one turns out to be a visitor or you misidentify and kill them as a human, the other will become unresponsive, their body language twisted into an agonizing grief. This is where the next mistake ending comes in. Misidentifying a human seemingly has no consequence, as you still have enough numbers in your house,
and can cause you to become trigger happy in later runs, or as you chase certain endings. In actuality, there is a consequence, this being in the form of this ending. The Rampage ending occurs once you have killed 5 humans over the span of your entire playthrough. The night in which you achieve this feat, the bold man appears at your door. I wasn't planning to drop by, but I had a vision. Something strange is happening here. When I look at your house, a certain passage comes to mind. Like when you face something so dark that you don't want to anymore. The cold earth watches you. Did you do something? I killed visitors. How else am I supposed to survive? No, something's definitely wrong. Wait, I see it now. You were too scared. Oh goodness, your fear has blinded you. I don't think I can fix what comes next. I'm so sorry. Dying is terrifying. I know that well. The dread alone can drive you mad. It pushes you towards terrible choices. I can see the plans they had laid out for you. Yet seeing what laid ahead only made things worse. What was it that scared you so? Pain? Fading away? You can't stop it. Sooner or later. But you chose sooner. I'm truly sorry. They threw you out into the street, unarmed, bloodied. You have no strength left to crawl away from the sunlight. No way to end your suffering on your own terms. You'll burn, slowly. And there's no one left to blame. Unless... This ending is pretty simple. You were way too terrified of being killed by visitors that you became the killer. More humans died by your hand than that of the visitors in your walls, all because of your blind fear. You tried to end yourself on your own terms out of guilt, but those who felt wronged by your aimless slaughter didn't let you. They beat you until you could barely move, and then threw you out into the street, forcing you to feel the pain you inflicted on others, and the despair of your imminent death. The final part of the ending is really confusing, hinting that there is actually someone out there to blame other than you. Peculiar, isn't it? My interpretation is the prophetic man voicing this to you, and the yes I'm a murderer ending. He can sense what you are doing and comes to warn you of your future. You, however, are still deeply entranced with the fear and perhaps are even cautious of him. So, you take what he says with a grain of salt. However, his words eventually get to you, causing you to turn the gun to yourself, and thus the events of the ending happen. Exactly as it was foretold to you the night he came around. So that's it. Every ending that is caused by a mistake. So far we've gone over the good ending, the Hunter's Wrath ending, the yes I'm alone and no I'm not alone endings, and the yes I'm a murderer ending. Every ending is very nicely tied off at the end, kinda, but don't really tell us much about the overall lore of the game. The remaining 6 endings, I think, are far more connected to either its own storyline or the overall game plot in general. The first of these endings I want to go through is the FEMA ending. Did you know every number in the game except for one is different every playthrough? Every single phone number you hear on the radio, see on TV and get from a character is a randomly generated 6-digit number from playthrough to playthrough. All except for the FEMA hotline. Every single time it'll be 000451. You're supposed to get this number on day 3 of the game after watching the news, but you, however, can call them a little bit earlier than that. Hello, you've reached the FEMA hotline. How can I help you? What are you talking about?
Are you a total moron? Hang up the phone now!
FEMA is supposedly an organization created on, or just before, the third day to contain the catastrophe, and who eventually go to overthrow the government as it was overtaken by visitors. It's extremely suspicious that they are clearly an already formed organization and have phone lines up and running before the world really knows much about the catastrophe. If you remember the conspiracy theorist, he had a lot to say about FEMA, calling them the facility for eradicating mankind altogether, and saying they could be visitors, their hazmat suits protecting them from being tested. FEMA is also a real agency in our world, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the same as in the game, and provide a pretty similar purpose, reacting to and helping with, say, natural disasters and such. Anyways, back to the game. Regarding the conspiracy theorist and his ideas on FEMA, well, there's a little rabbit hole there. Initially, you might take his claims with a grain of salt, but as you go on, you start to lose trust in FEMA yourself. The constant removal of people, never to be seen again, the claims that someone attacked them when the radio describes something instead, and the fact that there are many guests in your house that say not to trust them and that they're actively killing people. Something you can confirm outside your window. The cryptic commands on the radio about the subject and burning bodies, everything screams that they are hiding something. Something else to note about the conspiracy theorist, which may give him more credibility, though I will say I don't find truth in his FEMA-based ideas, is that he is a character who appears in the opening cutscene, the researcher. Similarly, later on after this, he's supposed to appear on the radio. This character was the host of the radio show, but got fired after the researcher she tried to get on didn't come up. This being the radio broadcast you heard on day 4, which describes the theorist as a respected scientist who knows the truth of the visitors, however all his information was stolen. When he comes to your door, he tells you the visitors are a brain parasite, and while that may not be true, why would FEMA steal his documents if he was just a quack? He could potentially be a great source of information, but you really shouldn't trust everything you see in this game. Another interesting character surrounding FEMA is this character, someone who shows up unmasked in a hazmat suit, claiming to be a fridge repairman, or someone who wrote code depending on your dialogue choice when you let him in. The first few conversations, he remains insistent he's not with FEMA, but eventually you search his pockets and find his ID. He knows FEMA isn't well trusted and widely considered as murderers. All he did was round people up for quarantine, never thinking about what happened to them because he was just doing his job. In his final conversation, he tells you of a man who died in their custody, and then the man's wife came to ask about him. There wasn't much they could do because he was dead, but she flipped out on them, saying they killed him. She demanded the body back, but they weren't allowed to. She camped outside, causing the workers to eventually cave in and return it to her, leading to every single one of them being fired, including our guy right here. He holds resentment towards that wife. He ends it off by scoring at how she doesn't even bury him, just carries him around. I think it's pretty clear he's talking about the widowed woman, who I went over in our first run, and while she said she had to go inside to retrieve his body, this ex-FEMA says he had to go and deliver it to her. It's also obvious he'd been deluded, or has full faith in FEMA, saying for sure the guy was a visitor and hinting that they'd been the ones who killed him, not that he had just died via something else. He also subtly defends FEMA, before even revealing he's an agent, showing the almost cult-like, unquestioning behaviour of the FEMA employees, viewing their work as righteous and scientifically correct. There are many theories on what FEMA are, but this character isn't a guaranteed visitor, which does kinda disprove that FEMA agents in hazmat suits are all visitors. But how can we discover what FEMA really is? I think we first need to look at their goal. They're clearly not here just to help everyone out, as they probably burned down the main cityscape outside our door out of a show of dominance, and are killing people trying to flee. It doesn't seem like they're here to protect us, but rather the outside world from us. The radio dispatch to FEMA units tells them two very disturbing things: that they shouldn't have burned the bodies and that the subject has breached the perimeter, and they can no longer contain it. Burning the bodies is more relevant later, but this subject might give us more of an insight on who FEMA are. Perhaps, before the tragic events took place in the story of the Sun's Heat and the visitor invasion, FEMA secretly existed for another purpose. Not to manage emergencies in general, but to manage one emergency, the subject. Over a different radio broadcast, we learned that people did not attack the quarantine zones. Rather, it was some being, something non-human. Where have we heard that before? That's right. I believe, as do many others, that FEMA originally existed to contain it, the most elusive creature in this game so far. In the more choppy radio broadcasts, it is described to be drawn to the burning bodies, and that burning bodies doesn't contain the threat it poses. This all comes together to create another looming question. What the hell do it, the sun, and the visitors have linking them together? There's no way on earth this is all one big coincidence, and I don't think it is. There really are far greater powers at play. Given it is actually being drawn to the burning bodies, and seems to be more of a buff than a nerf, which FEMA thought it would be, the sun's ability to cause spontaneous combustion right around the time visitors are coming up from the Earth feels a bit more intentional. To me, this feels less like a sudden catastrophe and more like a Noah's Ark situation, but we'll get into that later. Now's a good time to bring up the "Yes, I'm a Human" episode. The email I showed you right at the start of the game, where they tell you to only send in eyes, teeth, and mouth, all before those signs have actually been revealed. Now it feels more and more like FEMA already know what's going on, and are drip feeding you information, a sign that they aren't here to save us, rather to control us. We know now that the signs are straight BS, but it shows that this was all planned, and not like they randomly decided what to make a sign or not. This brings me to how to achieve the FEMA ending. Instead of being confrontational and getting annoyed with how FEMA treat you, what if you let them control you? Aid out of their hands like the average, fearful resident who believes the government will help them, even though they high-key blatantly killed your lovely neighbor, and call them for help frequently throughout the playthrough. Basically, click all the cordial dialogue options and call them 3 times over the run. You also need to hand out all the FEMA slips you get, and one night, FEMA will show up to your door.
Hello?
Your contribution to emergency response efforts has been noted. We need more people like you. Join us. That's unexpected. We understand your concerns, but there's no need to worry. You'll be paid well with full benefits, of course. Now get ready. You're coming with us. I'm ready. Good. Take only what's essential. Housing will be provided. There's no point coming back here. Not anytime soon, at least. We're waiting for you. You feel disoriented. Is this how FEMA usually recruits people? This is a big organization. You'll probably have to deal with a lot of people. There's no telling when they'll let you go home. Sounds like you'll be working long shifts. How dangerous is this job, anyway? Whisking people away and hiring them on the spot? It's so strange. Is the turnover really that bad? Why else recruit so aggressively? It's not even clear what the work will be. Escorting people to the quarantine zones? And then what? You don't know what's become of your home, nor what happened to those who lived with you. You get the feeling you will never be going back to your old life. From the briefings, it becomes clear that the job wasn't designed with long-term survival in mind. Your only regret is not bringing the poster with you. But what really is FEMA? We don't know, and this is all just my theory influenced by others and my own experience of the game. From everything I've gathered playing, watching playthroughs and theory videos, and writing this very script, I truly think that they are an evil government organization who use their limited knowledge of it and its connections to the visitors and Sun to convince everyone they knew what was best and utilize their power to control the city as much as possible. However, it's also clear that they are trying to stop it and the visitor invasion as a whole from spreading beyond the confines of the town. It's really odd as the game states the sun's activity is causing massive temperature rising in the equatorial belt, thus proving the sun's activity is worldwide, yet the person you talk to on phone roulette managed to make it somewhere cold. Whether the news itself is propaganda to control you further, or the sun just simply isn't affecting other areas as much as yours, is kinda hard to decipher. What isn't is that if it escapes the city, it's all over. FEMA kills anyone who tries to leave, because it will be drawn to their bodies, so that it can consume them. Maybe FEMA really are run by visitors, or maybe they're just as scared as you or I. Their connection to the visitors and the higher power are discussed later on. But now, let's get into some more fun, more disconnected from each other endings, I'll say. It's a big year for us, you know, with the sun going kaboom, kablow, and all these people coming up from the earth. Obviously, we all know this is orchestrated by death to come for us. But I was thinking, right? Every house I go to nowadays, it feels like, with the little progress that we've made over the years, has come to an end instantly. I see people with disabilities getting turned away from residence because they don't look normal. And people of the same race are flocking together and becoming like tribes again, turning everyone away. And no one seems to want to take in my boys when they need to do their burial rites. They call us the cultists, but aren't they the real cultists?
Right!
Remember who supplies the gasoline on this next joke. So as I was saying...
Just shut up!
Oh, sorry. I just want to take a moment to say, rest in peace, my granny. She got burned by a solar flare.
That wasn't a joke yet.
The next ending is the cultist ending. Similar to the FEMA ending, the cultist ending is somewhat tied into its own little story arc in the game, with some ideas branching into the overall plot. The cult is somewhat of a natural human response to the end times, with many people desperate for answers, yet they never received them from the cryptic government, so they turn to anything for truth. The cult gives a very simple answer to that this is the time of judgment and that death is coming to rescue us. Death created this living hell to show us that the path towards her isn't as scary as we think, and is actually the correct decision to make in the apocalypse. The choice to meet death, as opposed to have her forced upon you by visitors or humans, is going to reward you greatly, and is an easy out for the constant fear in the current world. On his first time meeting you, the death cult leader says something quite ominous, that death has taken a liking to you, or specifically to your house, something he will state regardless if anyone's actually died in your home. I'll explore what this means in later endings, but it seems once more that you've been selected for something. The leader doesn't really say more than this, aside from that his brothers must complete their divine mission before passing, and so you have to take care of them, an offer that you can't ever turn down. We can actually indirectly learn about the cultist recruitment, and the types of people that join them, as this character, the angry guy, has a wife who was thinking about joining them. This caused him to hit her, which he feels remorseful later, but trying to call her leads to her telling you that she's not leaving the cult now. It's quite obvious once the cult has you, they have you. Similar to the brainwashing of FEMA, in a tragedy like this, people will do anything to cling on to a group or herd mentality. So groups like FEMA and the death cult thrive, as they provide a simple purpose for the people in a world that may no longer have a purpose. People who used to exist to work their job and help others can no longer do so. People who feel lost will try to find a path to follow so it feels like they're going somewhere, even if it's a dead end. This is how I view the death cult. People who are trying to craft an idea of an ideal world without presenting an ideal world. Trying to come off as more believable, like saying, oh, we're not like the other religions. We won't say, you'll go to the greatest place of all time if you follow us. We're saying, you'll go to a place that's not the worst place. That's ideal, I guess. In later dialogues with the cultist, he tells you certain things that point to this. But first, what even are those dialogues? In the second instance you run into him, there are two possible scenarios. In the first case, you no longer have all his brothers alive, and he scorns you and leaves. The second, you manage to keep them safe from visitors and FEMA, which he is grateful for. Here's that interaction. Let us not waste time, how fair my flock. Yeah, they're still alive. I'm sure you are tired too, of all the noise, these oppressive times, the confusion. Death spoke to me not long ago. She hopes to meet you when the time comes. She may offer you a place to hide from everything, even from the end itself. I'm not sure what that means yet, but it does sound tempting, yes?
I'm reminded of his theme in this dialogue. It's one of my favorites in the game. It's super ominous and perfect for his vibe, but it has like a hint of mystique. I won't pretend to know much about music, but it makes it feel like there's an underlying question to his aura.
This time, he says Death spoke to him, and that she wants to meet you. He seems puzzled by this as well, but it feels like he's tempting you to join them. Once more, I'll touch on this later. It could be a trick to try and convince you to join, or there could be something in there that might be worth clinging onto for later. Anyway, he comes again the next night.
Wanna hear some comedy? Knock knock.
Who's there?
The Gruffalo.
Oh, don't be silly, there's no such thing as the Gruffalo. I don't know why I decided to give him a comedian bit. It's not like that's relevant to anything at all, but just roll with it, guys. He comes the next night and says to you,
Death no longer speaks to me, so that's how the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper. Oh, but everything's fine with you, isn't it?
Your flock are fine.
Yes. All as it should be. Her gaze still rests upon us. I shan't linger. I'll be moving on now.
So what's the deal with this death of yours?
The day of her arrival is nigh. I can feel it, yes. It's of no consequence if we don't fully understand what we here summon. What truly matters is this. We are all tired. Yet the thought of eternal nothingness terrifies us. The concept of an afterlife is but a hollow dream promised by false religions. The cycle of rebirth, little more than endless torment with short breaks between. But death herself, she might spare us from the most terrible fate of all, the void. We have no choice but to keep calling to her.
Leave me alone.
Very well, you've done enough. I shall take them with me, with gratitude regardless. As a token of gratitude, I could offer you salvation. Join in our right and find peace. Come, brother, hold in our hand as we march towards death.
I've long awaited to find peace. I'm coming with you.
I have rejoiced that you joined us, brother. Truly, death did not choose you in vain. Today, brothers, we find our salvation. First we shall attend to our preparations, then we wait. Behold, the infernal luminescence stars. The time of violence has passed, and we usher in a new age of tranquility. The time for worry is over. My flock will starve, suffering of its feed. We give names to the dead, so that we know their death was not in vain. They will be taken, just like us. That is how we shrouded Olan. That is his name now. We too will receive names. This is it. The time has come. Brothers, let us call upon her. We are ready.
Fear and corruption of her word kept us from her embrace. Not to pass into nothingness, but to return into death. We surrender our bodies unto death's embrace, to find peace in what lies beyond. Long ago this knowledge dwelled upon the earth, but the great extinction claimed more than lives alone. But now we walk the path in the ways of old. She shall cradle us all. None shall be forsaken. Even death herself shall ascend. Do you feel it? She is here. A voice echoes in the air,
its owner unclear. You appeared from nowhere, drawing eyes upon yourself. We must act now. Some doors are best left closed. Come, I will hide you. I shall return you to where you were always meant to be. I will grant you peace, just as humanity has always longed for. You were never meant to survive the madness of the cosmos. I will preserve your memory. As the cultist said, there really was peace on the other side. Death's embrace, at least at the final moments you endured, were warm in comparison to harsh reality. In his dialogue before you agree to join him, the leader's words were sultry, soothing as he lists points that he's probably repeated to many residents across the city to join him in his doctrine. At least, so it may seem. After agreeing, he exclaims death chose you for a reason, and then moves over to preparing for death. He names someone Olan, or Olin, I don't know. Whether that be you or the dead person, Olan has no real meaning in English or the game's original language Russian, but means to be or to become in Turkish. This is as whoever the death leader is named will reach peace through the name. They will become free of the void. The leader calls out the other religions for their false promises, but makes a promise to you that his cult can save you from the void. He says death speaks to him, except for now, as the end of the world arrives in but a slight whimper. However, she does comfort you, and brings you for peace, with the promise of your memory remaining for eternity. I will preserve your memory. This ending is also quite odd. Once again, there's greater powers at play, there to comfort you. While this could be your deluded mind state experiencing this in your burning moments, the promises of the cult imagining themselves in your mind as a real experience, I think there is some truth to what happens here. However, this was never the right way to go. This is not truly the peace you were looking for, just a peace promised to you that you felt like was the only path towards it. It's like if someone told you the only way to achieve happiness is to work as hard as possible somewhere that you hate with people you don't like, and eventually you do reach some level of contentness once you've reached maybe a certain financial or like friends or family state, you know? Whereas in an alternate reality, you go and work somewhere that you love with people that you love, and you end up reaching a level of happiness you couldn't if you stayed in your original position in an area you hated and reached like sort of a baseline level of content. Both of these scenarios you achieve happiness to some degree, but the second is vastly superior, however a lot harder to achieve. Some more information is that it appears, at least according to the cultists, that this knowledge that death was a saviour of peace was known a very long time ago. However, an extinction event occurred, killing both lives and the stories of old. Then the new age of people came to fear death, and this propaganda spread to completely eradicate that old story of death's grace. This doesn't really help us, but maybe that old extinction event was related to this one. Perhaps there is a symbol of death in the real world to be feared. However, the conceptual death that exists outside of it is the true one. Before I move on to the next ending, I want to note the existence of the house once more in an ending. What is so important about it? The next two endings I'm covering are like the kooky endings. These are the endings in the game that are just straight up weird. Honestly, you kind of expect them to have more with all the weird characters they got strolling about, and with how eerie things are in general. But really, it's only these two endings that are just out there. Before I get into that though, I want to tell you about one of the strangest characters in the game, the lady with the cat. I mean, she says she knows the bold man in dialogue with her, and brings in the ever-important Kitty. But also we see her as well in the opening cutscene. She's also one of the guaranteed visitors if I didn't mention it earlier. However, is one you willingly let in for the cat. This cat gives you access to the ending I'm about to describe to you. Most people will just straight up shoot her, because of course you would, she's so obviously a visitor, but you do have the option to let her stay and talk to her. There's no good reason to do this, but for the law, we must. She tells you of her ballerina stuff, but isn't much of a talker.
She does, however, mention that they didn't say why, but she isn't supposed to kill you, hence why she doesn't kill you. In her photo, she strikes a lovely pose, and one day you're given the option to pull out the gun, just in regular dialogue with her. This prompts her to show off her ballerina skills, as you are forced to shoot. Her neck contorts, eyes rolling backwards as she dodges the first round. Her body twists to the side, her neck craning back and her arm jerking around. She dodges the second. Her whole body crumples away, dodging the final round. The final shot lands and she dies. This character is our first look at a visitor indoors who is conscious, or at least bold enough to appear conscious that they are a visitor. They don't hide anything and were sent to your house simply to deliver the cat. It also seems to be her cat, as we see in the opening cutscene. Anyway, the cat is important because it unlocks the basement for you. Before you go into any wild theories yourself, the protagonist does know of the basement with or without the cat, as you go into it on the final day. But getting the cat inside tips the carpet forward, allowing you to go inside during the run. The basement is not important, aside from 2 endings, and this is the first one. As I mentioned in the first ending, the night in which the city burns is usually just that. No guests, no visitors, nothing. However, there is a rare encounter, the Mushroom Eater. The Mushroom Eater comes to your door on this night if the cat is in the house, and gives you a page from the Book of Smiles, a mystical book which has warned him of the upcoming Mushroom Festival. It's very adventure-y. The magic book tells him of the secret society and an upcoming doomsday event. The page is listed in 3 oddly worded tasks. The first is to consume the mushroom when it grows high. In your basement the next morning, a mushroom will be growing out from where the potatoes are. You can interact with it and place it in your fridge, later letting you consume it when you go to the fridge. Task 1 complete. After eating the mushroom and going to sleep, you'll have a real weird dream. The second task is also weirdly phrased, but basically a couple of days later, you'll see this in the hall room. There's an apple next to your toy Toto. Clicking on it, you consume it. It's not that bad, and there's no weird dreams tonight. The final task comes to fruition a night later, when you wake up and there's suddenly a clock above your bed. Interacting with it, you move both hands to the 12, fulfilling the desires of the kooky man. Upon completing this, he returns to your door.
There you are again, my boy. I'm glad to see you did everything the Book of Smiles asked of you. I sure hope it was enough to stop the festival.
You don't sound convinced.
Oh, my dear boy, if only it was so simple. We still don't know if what we did truly helped. All we can do now is wait and hope it was enough to stop mushrooms from growing.
Couldn't you just ask the mushrooms not to start the festival?
A mighty swell idea. But I can't simply speak to the mushrooms. No. They're only one part of the shrooming network. Alas, the mycelium is the brains here. A pity I could only listen to it. It doesn't understand our tongue. I'll be back when the time is right. We'll make sure the mushrooms stay small and stop the festival from ever beginning. Just remember, the mushrooms aren't always what they seem. This isn't goodbye, dear boy.
And with that revelation, he leaves. Whatever the festival is, it's probably not good. But why are the mushrooms so important? We were told earlier on by the cleansing service scam call thing to avoid drinks like kombucha due to their mycelium content. They actually directly ask us if we consume mushrooms too. They say it's easier for the spirits to claim our body. The mycelium will grow from within you and control you like a puppet. Outside of this as well, we do have the fungal growth in the underarm area as a sign for visitors. As false as these signs are, this is something that we the character can have as well. It's probably caused or accelerated by the consumption of the mushroom and kombucha during the run, but I don't think that's actually confirmed in like the patch notes, I don't know. In all cases, mushrooms have some kind of part to play in the story, even outside the mushroom ending. There could be some ties of it into the main plot. Back to this ending though. There's nothing new that happens the rest of the day. You've done all you can so far to help this strange guy.
but he knocks once more on the next night.
It seems like the festival's still coming after all. There's so much chaos within the mycelium that the ritual, well, it just didn't work.
Why didn't it work?
Something's gone cuckoo inside the mycelium. When too much malice builds up in its threads, it gosh darn clogs everything up, it does. The mushrooms are like a liver trying to purge the body of a poison. But lately there's been so much malice, the mushroom has grown beyond all bounds. I didn't want to have to do this, but I think we'll have to journey to Mushroom Land.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad.
Don't let the name fool you, dear boy. It may sound almost cheerful in our tongue, but in mushroom language it means something else entirely. It's not a land of sunshine and rainbows. No, no, no! We won't see the festival there, but the others, the mycelium. If we don't act now, it could all be lost. No human should ever step foot there. Never, ever, ever. But we must if we wish to stop the festival. Are you ready to go with me to Mushroom Land?
Yes.
Oh, that's the spirit, my boy. Gather your things and... Hold on. One gosh darn second, let me see your watch. Midnight. Oh, goodness me, we're late. Come along now, lickety-split, before the gate to Mushroom Land closes. Mushrooms are something else, you know. They can grow very fast when things go bad. They can grow up, as fast as a beanstalk, right before your very eyes. Makes you wonder what will become of them once the clock strikes midnight, And the bigger the mushrooms, the more clumps of malice gather in the mycelium. Why, the cap could cover the whole earth, until there's nothing left. And now, dear boy, the mycelium must find a way to unleash all that rage. Fiddlesticks. Our ritual was supposed to calm it down. The apple seeds are meant to remind it of the bond between man and mushrooms. But it seems the mycelium's gone cuckoo now, blinded by the fury trapped within its roots. Mushroom Land is out there somewhere. Quickly, my dear boy. We have to stop the mycelium before the mushroom grows too high. Follow me, lickety-split. Underground we go. Fiddlesticks. It looks like we're too late, my dear boy. Well, alrighty then.
What the hell was that? Yeah, so the Mushroom Festival happens. You try to stop it by joining forces with the strange man and heading underground to the Mushroom Land, but you were far too late. The big mushroom grows and the old man gives up. I'm fairly certain this is a nonsensical ending, for the most part. The whole malice is stored in mycelium, causing uncontrollable growth, the weird dream of the tunnel shifting, growing mushrooms, and the idea that this is some prophesized or weird event recorded in the Book of Smiles. It all just builds into this fantasy story going on during this apocalypse. It's all just insane, even in the insane world you're living in. Something else that belittles this ending is that the Mushroom Festival always happens. If you ignore the Mushroom Man, it'll happen in the background, and he comes back to tell you that it's going to happen. but it never impacts the other endings. In fact, it feels like the mushroom ending doesn't do anything. There is, of course, likely something meaningful in this ending that I'll touch on in the theory section of this video. I know I keep saying that, but I feel the need to withhold this from you so it can all settle into place the same way that it did for me. But when I go over my personal ideas, which don't align with the theories related to mushrooms or some of the other theories I'll go over, you don't ignore that either. This ending actually takes inspiration from a Polish analog horror series called... Hold on, give me a moment. Kraina Grzybów. Someone let me know if I said that right, Polish people please, which translates to Mushroom Land. The main premise is a weird TV show with some strange themes about a horrific land called Mushroom Land. There's also a lot of apples that show up in the first episode, How to Apple, and the show itself is called Smile Guide. I won't go into too much depth on this series as it doesn't seem to really give us too much of a deeper insight into our ending, or the Mushroom Festival as a whole, but there is a few good theories that I want to touch on that can relate to us. So here's a small snippet from the first episode.
Jabłko składa się z nadjabłcza, krainy grzybów i papieru. Ale my się tym nie przejmujemy.
One of the main theories behind the show is that the main character, Agatha, is on drugs the whole time, specifically related to the mushrooms, a hallucinogen, which could carry over to No I'm Not a Human through both you and the Mushroom Land. It explains the weird dream you have after eating a mushroom, and also just the whole looniness about this man that comes to your door talking about the Mushroom Festival. Another theory is relating to the schematic of the apple in the episode I just showed you. The apple schematic doesn't look like an apple, it looks like an atomic bomb. And when atomic bombs go off, the shape of the cloud is a mushroom. Perhaps the Mushroom Festival isn't a growing mushroom, but instead an attack from an outside source to neutralize the threat inside the city, and we only avoid it because we go into the bunker. When the old man takes us to Mushroom Land, the reason he gets so distraught about the mushroom growing is because we die at that moment. That also might explain this sort of weird imagery of him. And when it comes to apples, they can refer to loss of innocence, like in the Bible. But as I said, I won't go too deep into this just yet.
On to the next!
This is one of the hardest endings to actually clock first time around. Unlike pretty much every other ending, it doesn't require you to make a mistake or follow the instructions of one of the many characters that show up to your door, or even to follow the natural flow of gameplay. This ending relies on you letting one specific character in, a character we rejected on our first run. But look who didn't.
Come on in! Let's escape from all the horrors of the world. Just you and me.
She also has to be let in at the latest on night 9. Any night after that and you'll get an ending where you go into the basement, such as the good or visitor endings. If you get lucky enough to help her before this, her ending becomes available to you. Upon letting her in, she takes up a position no other character dared to, right next to you in your bed. I won't really go over her dialogue with you because it's not really important, but she does her best to come off as understanding, and often says your fears are valid but then tries to use those fears as a reason behind your actions. This will become more obvious as we go on. The next night you sleep and wake up, you'll see her in this position at night. You can confront her about it in the morning, but she tries to brush it off and conflate it with your fear of death. Nothing really comes from this. The next night things are a little more suspicious. This time she really does look pregnant in some way. Told you this was a weird one. Again, you can confront her about it and she gets a little upset by this, bringing up how you mentioned your father and saying you probably are afraid of living in his shadow. Thus you have begun to live as he did. Basically trying to put herself in the position of the protagonist's mother. Things get a little more dire the following night, when you wake up to this sight. She's practically due at this point. It's some freakish imagery going on. As you watch the news the next morning, someone dies almost instantly, without you checking them or anything. Once the news stops, you see the reason why. Now laying in the bed next to you isn't the seductive woman. Instead lays a corpse with a large wound on her stomach, as if what had been growing inside her was finally strong enough to break out. For some strange reason, the far end window on the right side is now interactable, making the sound of a baby's cry. This begins the chase. The child born of the woman is somewhere, hiding within your house.
You rush out and check the hall, corner to corner, wall to wall. Nothing. You check the office. On the ceiling fan, the clear image of a newborn. Clicking on it triggers the cry once more. You check the kitchen. And the cupboard. The same methods as before. Finally, you check the bathroom, and bunched up under the bathtub lies the child once more. Interacting with it, it cries again. Upon waking up that night, you can check out the window. In our first run, I showed you every single window scene that happens every night. Well, except for one. Out of our first window on this specific night, we see the image of the child drinking from the teat of a dog. Not too dissimilar from the statue of Romulus and Remus drinking from the she-wolf. Upon checking the peephole, the ending triggers. You sense a presence nearby. You saw the child, yes, but that's not what this is about. Someone keeps watching you. A choking fog smothers the world, swallowing every sound. Its silence envelops the world like cotton. It sounds like people are whispering. You call out, but the air falls still. Is meeting them a good omen? Or are they harbingers of disaster? The child stirs in their arms. It can no longer bring light into this world, at least you don't think it can. Is it our salvation or damnation? Panic grips you. The three of them yank the child in opposite directions. You raise your gun and fire, blindly, somewhere, anywhere. What's happening? What is this? Why is everyone dressed like that? More figures emerge from within the fog. You're the prophet, a woman says. Don't you see? You name the sins of this world. You are our salvation. The child would have led us to a kingdom of horror. No one is ready. But you will drive the darkness away and usher the coming of paradise. Your sacrifice will save us all. Her words leave you paralyzed. What is this madness? Whatever they mean, one thing's sure. The child is no longer among the living. Who knows what they'll do to you? You catch the glint of metal nails clutched in a hand. Like I said, the weirder endings, man. What I gather from the overall plot of this ending is that you, potentially, had a child with a seductive woman, or at least someone did and she brought it into your walls. The rapid birth and means of delivery are really suspicious, and there's no notice of it during the daylight hours. The baby is also odd in the fact that it doesn't instinctively look for its mother. It goes to the dog for its nutrients. Something you note when you see it from the window. The ending begins on you, alone in the fog with your gun. You mentioned when looking at the baby from the window, the world was beginning to become shrouded in this fog, so you likely went outside to search for the baby. In the ending, something contradictory happens. The clouds swallow the world into silence, yet you can hear them whispering. Not sure who they are, but they have the baby, and seem to want it for different reasons, pulling the baby from one another. In a panicked state, you shoot, presumably hitting the baby and killing it. Based on the fact the baby was pretty obviously not normal from its strength, of basically exploding out the room and being able to get to the damn ceiling fan on its own, there's a joke here about the absurdity of this, but I can't find it because I am not funny.
I'm a tough tootin' baby, I can punch in your buns. Punch in your buns, I can punch all your buns. If you're an evil witch, I will punch you for fun.
The baby is more than likely born a visitor. Every other visitor so far has been someone turned visitor, most likely. We know this is the case for the pale man and the cat lady because of the bearded huntsman story and the opening cutscene. Also, we know from the cashier lady that they aren't always conscious of the shift, and that there is a shift between human and visitor. This baby, however, was born into the catastrophe as its own calamity. According to those around you, the baby would bring great harm into the world. The weirdly depicted angels, one who is the seductive woman, and the normal people, they hoist you up and march you through the city, for who knows what intention. All until you see the nails in someone's hand. It's very safe to assume they crucified you as their savior, literally referring to you as their salvation. From you killing this baby, they think you can save them from the apocalypse. Recall my spiel about cults in a ruined world and how the mindset spreads. This is also reminiscent of the story Hellstar Amina by Junji Ito, in which an astronomer discovers a new planet and names it after his daughter Amina. However, the planet is malicious and begins to head towards Earth, causing destruction upon everything it passes by. This makes the world population see this planet called Ramina heading to them, and they start to link the planet to the astronomer's daughter, eventually thinking if they can kill or sacrifice Ramina, the planet will stop and spare them. Regardless of what happens, no spoilers, this simple idea is enough to infect the entire population into this conspiracy. The ending also gives you the achievement, Take Responsibility, a reference to the game Mouthwashing. For those that don't know, this will contain some spoilers for the game Mouthwashing, but it's about a delivery spaceship gone wrong, in which the character you play as, Jimmy, has to maintain the ship and crewmates as you jump between before and after the crash, slowly unraveling the plot. Originally, you believe yourself to be the heroic second-in-command who stepped up after the captain got wounded near to death in the crash. However, it is later revealed that the crash is your fault, something you hide from the crew. The Take Responsibility reference is more specifically to the female member of crew, the doctor, who revealed before the crash to the real captain that she was pregnant, and that you, or Jimmy, is the father. It's heavily implied that Jimmy created this child non-consensually, and as the game gets crazier towards its end, you are frequently reminded to take responsibility. However, the outcome of the game has you continue to run from your mistakes under the guise that you are doing what's best. This could be an indication on how the character you play as in No I'm Not a Human is not taking proper responsibility in this ending, and shooting blindly was a mistake. It could also be a reference to other endings in which the character believes they're acting outrageously, such as the Vigilante ending, or even the Manslaughter ending, in which the character believes they're doing their best to survive, but not truly taking responsibility for the actions they commit while doing so. It could of course be completely irrelevant to the game, and just a cool reference. But we move on. As we progress to the latter endings, we have covered many of the mysteries which are explored in the game. The mystery this focuses on, or this ending, is very central to our perspective, the mystery of the protagonist. I want to recap everything we know about our character. First and most obvious is that we are a hermit. We enjoy being alone and above all else, despise interacting with people. A piece of info that is very relevant to this ending specifically. Our neighbor notes it, other characters note it, like the people on the radio in your neighbor's house, they call you the hermit's house. And you yourself just seem distant from people in general. We also know our character is likely to have grown up not very wealthy. The bathroom has a hole in the wall so that light from another room can pour in, saving on power. You've got very little luxuries, just one TV in the bedroom and a radio, a landline and some printers or whatever's in the storage room. Now it's pretty clearly set before smartphones released, so it's likely a middle or below middle class lifestyle. However, as a child, you only had one toy, Toto. This could be a link to either that you couldn't afford it, or that your parents were neglectful of you. You harbour a resentment towards your father. He left you something in the storeroom to open which you haven't done yet. You talk to the lady on the phone roulette about how you hated him, and the seductive woman brings up the same sentiment. You likely sleep in their bed, a double bed with a nightstand and a window you don't want to be near. There's also a couple photos of a woman, or two different ones, which makes you remark about being alone. These could be references to significant others or your mother. Your mother's pretty elusive in the game, however, you never have anything bad to say about her, just your father, so it's entirely possible your father did something to your mother. Maybe as a child you saw it through the very window you don't wish to go near anymore, and became untrusting in the human population. There is of course other bits of information we can gather about our main character. He gets aggressive with female when they keep coming back, and becomes defensive towards the pale man. You get a good look into your character's thoughts through the window checks. When the teens' dead bodies are being cleaned, you worry about the possible bacterial infections, not so much any suspicion about the large group of FEMA units suddenly everywhere taking notes. You're very empathetic to the neighbor's daughter. You don't wish to rock her emotions early, but as time goes on, you try to help her accept reality, not allowing her to believe in a false reality. You might see a part of yourself in her. This character respects you for your grit and determination, not being cowardly weak, but also not using the tragedy to hold power over others. I hope you can't hear the background noises. Instead, you are simply fighting for survival and helping those with your judgment. I could go on about different characters' views and how they see you, and also how you see them, but what I really want to talk about is why this is at the very end of all the endings, why I'm covering this last. None of these endings have any particular order in the game. They are listed in a certain order in the menu when you unlock them, but it seems pretty arbitrary. I place this here because it's the best look into the person behind view. Me personally, I'm very intrigued with mysteries and the way that people think. This character is almost immediately introduced with both of these features. A hermit for some unknown reason, and this ending pretty clearly states exactly why he feels that way. There's also some implied stuff, and it shows how you deal with things after it's all said and done, which really exposes the character you play as someone with far deeper roots than you imagined. Yeah, he clearly has his problems with people, a lot of people do, but the specific details of them and why he feels them are almost fully obscured, just like his face. We can check his features through the Vigilante. Clean, untouched hands, regular eyes, pretty much regular everything else, and a nice set of teeth. But I mentioned in an earlier run that my favourite sign is the aura photography sign. And while I completely overlooked actually testing it myself in my recordings, here's our character's aura photo from the wiki. There's no colour, no background, only us and what's inside our head. It's a smoky mess, whether that indicates our character's mystery of his thought process, the idea that he's a lost soul wandering through just because he exists, or that his thoughts are shrouded in a never-ending storm. The character below the surface being far more jaded than we may initially think. Anyway, to reveal more about him, I'll now let you know how to achieve this ending, and it's relatively simple. Once the Pale Man and Fema do their last visit, you can do pretty much anything to the guests and it won't really matter. Whether you let in everyone or get rid of everyone is up to you. Obviously, killing too many, keeping a visitor, or having all humans gets your previously mentioned ending. But what if you were to kill everyone and not break the limit of 5 humans required for the manslaughter ending? Or if the visitors killed everyone and you're left with 2 people to kill? And on that last day, you're alone in the house. You get a unique ending. Enter ending 10. That's it. I survived. Alone. It had to be this way. I did everything right. I did everything right. How many days have passed? How many hours? If someone had stayed, would anything have changed? If I'd told my father how much I hated him, would I have found the strength to leave? Would she have been proud of what I did? The walls have fallen. There's no way out. But maybe there's no need to leave anymore. Maybe this is all that's left. It's a shame to die with all this anger boiling inside. At father, at myself, at everyone. No one helped my mother when she needed it most. He pushed her to the edge. My hands still shake when I think about looking through that window. My walls collapsed and now I lay in the rubble. I hated that house so much. Maybe losing it is a good thing. Everything is dust, yet somehow I feel freer.
there's nothing left to remind me of my old life. I wish she could see this. Why do I feel so light now? That heaviness is gone. Crumbled, just like the walls. Gone. The ending leaves you with an emptiness. The desire for her to see the destruction of the house, the protagonist's walls falling and his demeanor changing. The house that locked his anger, his disdain for humanity as a whole, fell atop him. Once it happened, his hatred released. His family life, having no physical, no emotional burden on him. Now all that's left in him is, as I said, emptiness. She is, like the word she, is being used in reference to his mother, I think. And the protagonist wants his mother to see him in this state. The free version of him that no longer holds onto his harbored feelings of the past, well, it won't be seen by anyone. Because he was alone in this ending. He continued living as he did in the past. He did all as he was supposed to. But all alone down there, all he could think about was his pure rage at everyone. All until the rage released. And now that that anger is gone, nothing remains. The overall story of this ending is a bit of an end-of-life crisis, I guess. The character believes he's gonna die, so he mulls over his repressed feelings. He thinks back on the memories of his family, clutching a gun he really doesn't need anymore, and trembling. He recalls specifically that his father pushed his mother to the brink, and he saw something out of that window. As I had predicted, that scarred him for life. Now I do want to say, obviously I knew this ending before I wrote the script, but even when I was going through like all the other endings and I was trying to figure out his character, I did think the window had some significance to do with why he hated his father and why he never really said anything about his mother. Now, what exactly this is that he saw isn't very clear. It could have been his father hurting or even killing his mother, or it could have been his mother no longer alive of her own accord, like the blind man. He also brings up his hatred for the house, yet never had the courage to leave. In his upbringing, he likely grew to fear his father and pushed himself closer to his mother, and he couldn't let go of the home despite his hatred. However, after the house collapsed, it didn't matter anymore. I've highlighted the home in every ending so far, specifically the ones it's appeared in, and I just think it's so central and important to our character. That home has so much meaning to him because, just like us, the player, it's all the protagonist knows. Well, in this world. Even if he hates it and everything about it, he hates people outside too, all of them, because no one helped his mother, and he hates himself for the same reason. So when he pictures this house, whether it be in the cultist ending as he is promised peace from the death god, or in the Power Man ending where the house becomes an untouched and ignored presence in the world, it becomes a physical manifestation of his mental state and the confines that he restricted himself to. In the cultist ending, he's being promised peace while the house zooms out and tumbles into the background. His worldly worries are drifting from him as he passes. However, in the Pale Man ending, no one comes to the house to collect what was left behind, and it becomes revered as a bad omen. If we were to imagine the world from the character's point of view, the house would be a clear image. It's a comfort zone sort of thing, but he's not really comfortable in it. And the rest of the world is a black unknown scribble. But in the Power Man ending, the rest of the world views the house as the scribble, whilst the outside world is clear, if that makes sense. I think the Power Man ending is trying to say the house only means something because the character made it mean something to them. So once it collapsed in this ending, there's no more meaning to the character. And then the uncomfortable safety that he'd been living in all this time has been pulled from him, forcing him to grow, and he had to do it alone. That was a lot of yap, but I genuinely really love the story of the protagonist of this game, and it ties into my overall idea on the plot of the game, like why is it happening, and I guess somewhat how it's happening. You are important, the house is important, where you live is important, what happened to you is important. Now, finally, I'll take you to the last ending. Thank you for coming so far with me. We are almost there. If we were to make a lineup of every important character in the game, who would you list?
Probably the protagonist, Pale Man, It, the Vigilante, FEMA, and maybe even some random characters that you can just happen to let in. One man who hasn't got the spotlight he deserves yet will be forgotten. And now it's his time to shine. The Bold Prophet. You may have forgotten about him because it's been a while since we've seen him, and if that's the case, let me remind you of his initial purpose. At first, he comes to your door asking for a divination. That aside, he also tells you that the cat must enter, and with no further elaboration, leaves. Obviously, we know to let the cat in. It's a guaranteed visitor that it comes with, but it's worth it. With the cat combined with cat food, you can stop any visitor from killing that night, allowing you to let everyone in and testing them before anyone dies. This is especially helpful with prior knowledge, so the more you play, the more runs you do, the more lives you experience, the stronger this cat becomes. The idea of a playthrough as a life isn't really explored in many games. Sure, story games like to tell you the story of a life or how a life created a story, but in those games, usually when you die, you just wake back up and challenge the same fight. It's the same in many horror games too, although we tend to follow the experiences of a character. The moment they die, we can just replay the last checkpoint. Now, No I'm Not a Human is not revolutionary in that aspect, that death means death. Many games have branched off endings with their own takes on each run, but what I personally realised while playing this game is that No I'm Not Human prefers to treat death, or an ending, as more of a passing event. Something that isn't really considered in any run is that you die in them. More so, the feelings you felt before and after death. This is shown through all the endings. There's nothing about how you died, rather how you lived and the permanence your end left. Each run with a unique ending is a life you could have lived. The Truly Alone ending, you stayed true to your personality and survived alone, remaining the hermit you always were, letting the scars your father left on you to continue to burn. In the FEMA ending, you throw away what you had left, until the fires burn away your humanity, and your dreams fade to ashes. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Basically what I'm saying is that each life you live in this game, your odds of survival increase, and the cat, who is at its best after you live more lives, shares one of its 9 with you. By the way, a cat having 9 lives comes from when they worshipped it in ancient times. I can't remember exactly what period, but I was assuming the Egyptians based on memory. The Bold Man gives you good advice you to take even though it guarantees one of them in your house. She becomes a good token for FEMA, or you can just eliminate her anyway. Letting the cat in allows you to have a second meeting with him. Once again, he gives you advice that would seem bad at first glance. He tells you not to test anyone for the next 2 days. Or maybe don't test anyone on the second day, I don't know, I just interpreted it as in the next 2 days, just don't do anything. Also, in this interaction, he warns you of something terrible coming to you. He also says that while testing portends doom, if you follow his guidance, you may reach peace, or be able to move on. The thing is, he's probably right. He's hinting at some supernatural power he has, one that's guiding him to help you. He doesn't seem to know everything, nor does he know why anything's happening. All he can do is tell you what he knows to be safe or dangerous. Of course, you can decide if you want to follow him. You've seen every ending at this point, and I want to ask you, are you satisfied with them? Does one seem really like a good ending to you? Like you've succeeded in this game? Or are you still unsatisfied? Is there something within you telling you that this isn't it? This can't be it. There has to be a better way to win. Well, if you follow this man, then you shall see the future that you could never see coming. Following his orders, he comes up to your door once more. What voice did I give this guy again?
I'd like to start our conversation with a divination.
Why do I always go British?
You're there, yes. The feeling is worse now. Strange. Is it all because of this destruction?
Do you need some help?
I've already got all the help I need. I feel weaker. My sight can't reach as far as it did before. It's probably not you or her. This happened once before at the very beginning. Everything will be fine. Newly grown stalks will break through the ash and reach for the sky.
I never understand what you're saying.
Goodness, I do not wish to scare you. Simply thinking aloud. Before I came to you, everything felt so clear. Now, it's like fog. You have a basement, yes? Something's there, beneath the soil, though I can't quite see what.
Do I need it?
Goodness, I can't think clearly, though, in the soil. I see one more thing. Don't jump. Not yet. I should rest.
He's noticeably more disheveled and thinner than you last saw him. In fact, the second time you saw him, he was also slightly more feeble looking. This time, it seems like his powers are degrading, and while it occurred while he approaches you, it wasn't your fault, or hers. He still talks vaguely, so it's hard to determine what he really means in this dialogue, but he does give you a new mission. You have a basement. Dig. This is what I was referring to way back when I was talking about a sign to dirty your fingers. Each day, you can go down to your basement and go towards the dirt, the spot that makes you crouch down. And looking at the dirt, you can dig. Digging sets your energy straight to 0, and puts dirt under your fingernails. Even if you have a full bar of energy, one dig sets you to nothing, so it's best to use up a couple tests before you dig. And also digging on 1 energy compared to 3 energy rewards the exact same progress, so you're not losing anything by maximizing your energy. You can also drink Energetica and dig multiple times in one day, allowing you to reach the secret far sooner than you may have expected. Here is why this ending is so difficult to get. Using this strategy, your hands and eyes will both fail the Vigilante tests, which means that the visitor signs that you can show the Vigilante, which are parts of your physical body, meaning not the photo, your teeth, eyes, hands, and ears will trigger a Vigilante ending. This is because of your teeth being just always bad, eyes red, hands dirty, ears is always bad, you know. This is of course if you haven't checked your armpits, you haven't washed off the muck that grows there. I'm not actually sure if it should be guaranteed there, but if you haven't washed it, it should be there, which means every physical sign would be taken as bad. The Vigilante will kill you. Anyway, after a couple of days, you'll probably reach the end of the soil under your house. What on earth could be underneath the house that you've lived in all these years? Going into the tunnel, there's a passage on your left and a dead end on your right with a hole in it. Reaching the hole, you meet the miner. Him and the boys were digging to hide from the heat, but found a massive underground tunnel network. The tunnels have caved in a little as time has gone on, but according to the miner, they go real deep. Aside from that, they also found a hole that emits a never-ending quiet hum. Not to mention, everything becomes eerie interacting with it. Animals silent. Compasses go wild and flashlights can't expose its darkness. He says his mate went down the hole and he's waiting at the top for him in case he needs help. Also, to be wary of the hole. They tried to dig around it and everything nearly collapsed on them. You can explore the other end of the tunnel, which leads to various dead ends until you reach a final dead end with the rocks in the way, which you can also see the miner through. And sure enough, he's sitting right next to a hole. But you can't go yet. The bold prophet told you not to jump, so don't jump. Also, this tunnel system gives you the ability to sprint. Horror game gives you run option. Spooky! With a few more days out in the world and various vigilante checks, FEMA and Powerman visits, everything, and he'll return once more, in a dangerous condition.
I've forgotten your face. My vision's fading. I barely see anything now. Has she left me?
You look bad.
She kept me going all this time. And now, she's just going to take it all back. What was the point?
Who are you talking about?
I don't even remember anymore. One word repeats in my mind. Jump, jump, jump. I don't know if it's a message meant for me or you. I'm lost. To find my fortune again, will you? Perhaps it'll help.
The middle of page 200.
One giant sound between two worlds. Fire. Walk with me. That's a shame. Thank you. But it didn't help. Goodbye.
The now shriveled, darkened corpse of the living prophet is losing his abilities. The abilities she gave him are being pulled away at this pivotal moment, and he's dying. He won't return, but there was one last message, not meant for him, but for you, and that's the jump.
Oh my god! Oh,
He doesn't know of the hole, because the hole is beneath your house. Like I said, you're important. Your house is important, and what happened to you is important. Heeding his advice, in the morning, you make your way to the tunnel. Hello there, Mr. Miner. I'm gonna go meet your friend. Bye-bye. You wake up. An endless body of water surrounds you. An entity formed by the beams of the Aurora Borealis distorts slowly in the distance, waiting for you. The sky is dotted with blue-green stars and the Aurora Borealis. There's a soothing quality to the music playing, but also something eerie. You begrudgingly make your way to the entity your steps splashing in the shallow waters beneath you. Let's talk to death.
If only those frozen hands could love me. Could you ever manage that? Congratulations. You emerge into an odd space. A hallway stretches before you with a desk at the end.
You... what?
The multitudes who fear me could build a grand city. But you need not to be afraid. Fear does not exist here. How long have you longed to meet me? I can sense it. All is well now.
Am I dead? Is this the end?
Am I dead? What does it truly mean to be dead? Maybe you simply fell asleep, and we have found each other within a dream. We are alike in that way. I am the unwanted sibling, the outcast in the family of humanity.
I'm scared.
No need to fear. I am the inventor of time. Nothing here can hurt you. Take solace in the dark. There is no masked man, nor anyone else. They are but shadows cast on my walls. I see you already. I will take you into the night, where the pine trees reach up to the stars. That's what you wanted, isn't it? Where you are meant to be? Yet, these short roads will soon stretch strangely wide, long, dusty, and strewn with compromises. Enjoy.
You walk slowly to the home. A serene calm washing over you. The grass crunches softly beneath your feet. You make your way to the door. Am I dead? Is anyone coming? Is anyone here? Day and night mean nothing here. I don't know how long I've been here, but now I feel calm, so very calm. It's so very still. There's nothing more to hinder you here. I hear no footsteps, no voices. I feel nothing. I don't remember how I got here. I don't know how to leave. But I don't really want to. I just hope this lasts a little longer. I wonder what it all meant. Why was I allowed in? Will someone come for me? I wish I could meet them again. But that can wait. I'm tired. I'll just rest a little while. One of my favourite interpretations of death which I've ever seen. Now that I've gone over this ending, I can finally tie up the loose endings that I've left open all this time. But first, let me recap and do more of a deep dive to the specific ending. In this ending, the bold prophet leads you towards death, until he is on the verge of it. However, he cannot understand or accept what's happening to him, and still is looking for guidance elsewhere. You, on the other hand, accept what is happening, and listen to the words carefully. As you follow each order, you become closer and closer to death, and upon jumping in the hole, you meet her. Does this mean you died and appeared there, or does it mean she was under your house waiting for you all this time? Is the miner above sitting with a rope and a dead body on the other end? Or did the person on the other end meet death too and find peace? It seems the cult was correct about something, that death is forgiving and will save them. Something death seems to know as well, is that she is the unwanted and feared abandoned child of humanity. However, she treats you with no malice. She comforts you. Death is constantly referred to as a she, as I've pointed out in various dialogues, so it becomes more clear what the certain characters are referring to when they say she. The Bold Prophet seems to have been bestowed his powers by her, powers that she took away once he served his purpose. The Cat Lady also refers to her, saying, "I never thought she would favour Big Idiot when you kill her." Obviously, you let the Cat Lady in under the Bold Prophet's orders, but once her purpose is served, once the cat reveals to you the basement that leads to the tunnels that reach death, she is killed by you. Well, she should be. If you didn't kill her, and you keep talking to her, you kill her anyway, so technically if you were following the exact lore of the game, I guess, figuring out everyone's stories, then she would have died before, you meet death and everything. Also, she's special because she can dodge bullets. The servants of death are special with their own special powers. Can you think of any other people with certain powers? Maybe the cultist with his ability to talk to death, or have death talk to him, or even the Pale Man with unparalleled strength and a unique conscience. When you ask him why he keeps returning, he asks if you consider that you were chosen. He says they send him for a reason, and that eventually you'll die. After which, he peculiarly mentions that you will disappear. I hope the puzzle pieces are clicking together for you as they did me. The Pale Man seems to be someone forcing you to make decisions. Because of him, you have to let people in and trust strangers. But from his perspective, he's here to change something, and knows you are to die. However, he doesn't know how. Perhaps in another life, without the Pale Man, you never let anyone in. The visitors came and killed you because you were defenseless. Or maybe Fiend stopped by and realized you're the only one home and came to take you instead of someone else. Or being alone, you went mad and did something to yourself or others. Whatever the case, he's also an agent for death. A being with powers beyond humanity to draw you closer to her. It makes sense why she needs them. Other characters lead you astray. Jumping back to the cultist, he has the right idea, but not the right methods. His goals are a mass self-sacrifice. He's being deluded by the wrong god. There's another being in this world of No I'm Not a Human, who is referred to exclusively by pronouns and is drawn to dead, burnt-up bodies. It. This is all a theory, by the way, nothing confirmed in the game, but I think it all lines up. The cultist lulls everyone into a sense of euphoria surrounding their impending doom. However, true death only comes when the time is right. The Bold Prophet told you not to jump yet, so maybe if you had forced your way into the miner's room and jumped, you would never have met death. Through your patience and ability to survive the following nights, you did become ready to meet death, or maybe death was getting ready to meet you. Another character, deluded by false ideals, is the Mushroom Eater. Too lost in his own fantasies, he tries to lead you to a false victory against the mushrooms. But in the end, everyone ends up dying again. Following the instructions of FEMA is the same thing. You group up with a deluded company to essentially exterminate the human and non-human population in your city. Nothing ever leads you to where you want to be, nor does it take you to the right path. Only this ending truly satisfies your character, and also me as the player. That impossible dream of loneliness and isolation, a dream that is considered a hell for others, but for you it is peace. A peace you don't want to end just yet. Also, by the way, the house is based on a real house called the World's Loneliest. I don't know if it's actually called that, but when you search it, it comes up, so I'm going to say it's that, and there's news articles. This is by far one of my favourite interpretations of an afterlife. It's a moment you don't want to end just yet. I mean, you don't know when it started, or if it'll end, but just living in it, you want to rest a little longer, or you want to be there a little longer. Obviously, as humans alive now, eventually that moment will sour, but given how our protagonist doesn't know how long he's been there, he just wants to stay a little longer, I think in this afterlife, your only emotion is contentness, and that feeling of content never dissipates. Unlike, of course, in real life, where if we were to live in contentness for too long, we'd get bored. I'm saying this version of an afterlife is saying, look, you'll feel content, and that's it. And we might be like, oh man, that's not really living, but we're dead. Of course we're not really living. Think of a moment you replay sometimes when you're thinking of better times. A moment you wish lasted a little bit longer, or is becoming weaker in your memory as time goes on. Or maybe a moment you're waiting for in the future, or a moment you don't think you'll ever be able to reach but want to experience. A moment that'll be your satisfaction. That's what our protagonist is experiencing. Sure, he had to go through a lot to get here. His whole life of discomfort and disarray has led him to be able to truly and wholly enjoy this moment. That's why your story's important, why your home's important. Death created a heaven you could truly enjoy. I came across an idea recently after reading one of my favourite mangas, Blue Lock. There'll be spoilers ahead, so skip to this timestamp if you don't want to listen or don't really care. Now, I know a lot of you might be like, screw off with these tangents, but I promise you there's some meaning behind it. In the story, you have 3 key characters, Nagi, Ryo, and Isagi. Isagi is a genius of hard work, who crushed everyone beneath him to prove his skills as a football player. Nagi was one of them who was crushed, and fought against Isagi later with his main goal being to destroy Isagi. He also set out a dream with Ryo to become the world's best together. In their game against Isagi, way later in the series as Manshine City, Nagi and Ryo make an incredible play, in which in front of the goal, Nagi dupes every person that predicted the flow of the game by faking a shot 5 times in a row, and instead of juggling it, scoring a super goal that sent the world into a frenzy for him. In that one play, his talent surpassed Isagi's work, which he had used to crush Nagi earlier. However, after this moment, we see Nagi lose his following games because his brilliance is dimming, and he starts asking his opposing strikers why they play, because he feels lost. Yes, he had a goal and shared a dream with Ryo to be the best, but there's no fire in him anymore. Eventually, in their final game, Ryo proves himself as an individual, not just Nagi's tool, but Nagi can't, and is shamefully removed from Blue Lock. This series of events led me to a conclusion which I'm sure many of you would know or are beginning to learn, and that's that dreams die in comfort. Nagi achieved the goal that was the wood to his fire, and now he was comfortable with the temperature of his room, so the wood got removed. However, it caused him to cool down, and soon he was left ice cold and isolated. His dream of being the best was never actually his dream. His dream was to feel truly challenged and to conquer it. But he never looked up, only forwards. The moment he was comfortable, his dream died and his skills dulled. Comfort ruined him. In your life as the protagonist, you were never living in comfort. There was always a turmoil occurring, whether it be the nightstand by your bed, the box in your storeroom, the behaviors you adapt to avoid your internal struggles that you were never allowed to feel at peace. In your life as the protagonist, you were never living in comfort. There was always turmoil occurring. The catastrophe forced you to let people in. Well, the Pale Man forces you to. You have to suddenly throw away everything you told yourself about humanity, about your trauma and the past, and you have to treat people as people, even if you weren't treated that way. In doing so, and hanging on to life, you prove to death your worth, and your turmoil ends. I'm really going a long-winded thing, and that's also kind of the mentality that made me write this script, so I'll end the discussion with that ending here. Now I'll get into the theories, important parts of the stories and Easter eggs or stuff I just didn't go over in the 11 endings. Have you played The Last of Us? Or at least heard of it? In that game, similar to this one, there's an epidemic of zombies brought on by something quite peculiar. A fungus. The cordyceps theory links many different so-called coincidences in No I'm Not a Human to explain majority of the game's happenings and mysteries. While I don't personally believe this is the answer, I find it to be pretty compelling with its explanation. To better explain it in the world of No I'm Not a Human, I'll tell you about how it works in The Last of Us. Well, actually it's probably better the game just tells you.
There's a fungus that infects insects, gets inside an ant, for example, travels through its circulatory system to the ant's brain and then floods it with hallucinogens, thus bending the ant's mind to its will. The fungus needs food to live, so it begins to devour its host from within, replacing the ant's flesh with its own. But it doesn't let its victim die, no, it keeps its puppet alive by preventing decomposition.
Fungal infection of this kind is real, but not in humans.
True, fungi cannot survive if its host's internal temperature is over 94 degrees. And currently there are no reasons for fungi to evolve to be able to withstand higher temperatures. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer?
That's right. The very first noticeable thing that happens in No I'm Not a Human is that the temperatures begin to rise. With this, fungi such as cordyceps can mutate or adapt to survive higher temperatures as to not go extinct, and thus will be able to take host of creatures with higher internal temperatures, like humans. This adaptation leads to humans being infected by the fungus, and creating the zombie visitor epidemic, near human hosts who become puppets of the fungus. The psychics from earlier in the story begin to make sense. They told you not to go near mushrooms or kombucha, any type of fungus, because the mycelium will control you. It also explains the mushroom eater ending. At least in my opinion, it becomes clear the mushroom eater is a man receiving hallucinations from the cordyceps, or a zombie causing fungi, but I'll just say cordyceps for now, and is being used to indoctrinate others into the infection, causing you to eat a mushroom and hallucinate yourself. I mean, you could still view the mushroom festival as a bombing in this context, as though it's like one large hallucination ending with a bombing, but maybe I just want my own headcanon to pull through. This also explains why FEMA burns down houses with a history of visitors, and wear hazmat suits. The easiest way to kill the fungus is simply to burn it, and as it can spread through spores, the suits help protect from that form of contamination. It also explains the weird dream you have after long or repeated visitor exposure, in which you seem to not really be conscious. The conspiracy theorist was somewhat right about it being a brain parasite, however he had the wrong prevention measure. It's not earplugs, but a mask he should have been wearing. If he really knew, he'd be a guaranteed human. There's a couple of holes in this theory though. This kind of infection doesn't give their host paranormal abilities such as immense strength, future sight, or ridiculous flexibility. Also, they aren't able to infect dead hosts. As the guy from The Last of Us stated, it keeps the host alive, and that's because it has to. It's a symbiotic relationship. Characters like the Graveyard Digger and the Cashier Girl both show examples of this. The Graveyard Digger said he saw people coming up from the ground as the news reports, and is why dirty fingernails is a sign. The cashier also passed out in the morning sun, and most definitely burnt to death. There is of course rebuttals to this. This is just a personal one that I made up when writing this script that can be sort of used to counter-argue against what I just said. One is that the daytime is a planned event by the likes of FEMA or some other entity that is controlled by the cordyceps to infect anyone who is outside. The person on the phone roulette said they made it to somewhere cold, so the temperature increase isn't global, indicating it isn't to do with the sun, but maybe local atmosphere or artificial influences. So while it is certainly a solid theory, it's just not how I interpreted the game. Another theory does link in death and it. It's a theory about two gods, one called death and one called fear. In this, the entity you meet at the end of the line is death, a benevolent, calming, and misunderstood being. On the other side, you have fear, or it, a malicious, savage, and fearsome being. Fear is the incarnation of humans' worries about death. While death is actually forgiving and accepting, over time the knowledge of this benevolence is overtaken by the fear of death as a concept. This manifested into the being fear, an uncontrollable mass of shambling corpses that only seeks to consume. The cult is our best look into this dynamic. They are aware of the benevolence of death, and that the knowledge of her goodness was known upon the earth. However, they are manipulated by the entity of fear, burning themselves at the stake and condemning themselves to the greatest horror imaginable as opposed to peace. Upon simply seeing fear, the blind man is cursed to die a horrific and drawn-out death, as he is tormented every night by it. Fear is the entity, and it is what creates visitors, while death is what saves people. When someone dies at the wrong time, for an easy analogy for this, when someone jumps in the hole too early, fear takes control of them, bringing them back as a puppet for its will. The goal of fear is to strike fear into others and draw all humans closer to it. Eventually, it'll absorb everything into itself and potentially overpower death to consume everything in all of time, as death is the inventor of time and stuff. I don't think this is the actual theory I came across when researching, but it's just an interpretation that I'm creating from my understanding of both the theory and the game. The reason this all started now is because of FEMA. As is proven by calling FEMA early, they are a pre-existing secret government organization. I believe their original purpose, as I'm pretty sure I stated before, but if I haven't, is to contain it, or fear. However, fear was growing stronger, and it was either warping reality or growing in power from the increased heat. This caused the visitor outbreak as FEMA kept trying to keep control of fear and stop it from escaping. They were instructed to burn bodies to get rid of all the remains of people so fear couldn't feed on them. Either they didn't know fear was drawn to burning bodies, or fear was already in their minds, manipulating them to burn bodies. Fear consumes them, the blackened corpses. To be honest, this theory isn't far off from my own. And there's a world in which both of these theories can coexist, or even all three, including my own personal one, can align and merge in some fashion. This specific theory doesn't really care about endings like the mushroom ending or the baby ending, although I'm sure they can be weased in somehow, such as like a pure-born child of fear and death or something like that. The final one is my personal idea about the story of the game that centers around death. Something I took note of in my own playthrough of the game after seeing the death ending was the Aurora Borealis. Something I've pointed out and explicitly mentioned every time it's shown up. You see it post your neighbor's house burning. You see it over a pack of hungry dogs who are found dead the next day. And you see it, finally, after the Vigilante has burned down the houses around you. There are some dialogue boxes attached to these events that I want to tell you before going into this. For the neighbor's house, it is a strange feeling overwhelms you, as if you knew this was coming. As if death was coming to that house, oh, so very soon. For the dogs, just simply, it's better not to go outside. And for the burned houses, whatever happens next, it'll happen to you. There are two interpretations I had for these occurrences. The first is that death is giving you warnings. Your neighbor was a lovely guy, but he was too trusting, easygoing, and friendly. While he did help you, his death is a warning for you to not trust everyone, and not to trust FEMA, as he does mention them on his phone call, the last one that he sends to you. The dogs is a warning not to go outside. Pretty obvious as it's literally in the text, it's better not to go outside, but it's also a warning to keep your wits about you. Don't turn into a savage and become too reliant on others, as the dogs who are soon to die have done. For example, these endings would cause, like, the manslaughter ending, where you become too savage, or I suppose a lot of endings would count for trusting others, like visitors in the basement. Maybe you could argue the baby ending for being too trusting of the woman. I can't think of any at the top of my head right now. Finally, the rubble of the neighboring house acts as a warning against both the Vigilante and to remain wary. Even as the game draws to its close, the text is a clear warning against that. Whatever happens next will happen to you, obviously. The other interpretation is that they are markings of death, the benevolent. Your neighbor died when he was supposed to, living true to himself even if he got himself killed. Thus, his daughter is spared, even when she really should have been killed by either the visitors, the fire, or the FEMA agents. The dogs are harder to link in, but I suppose they could have stayed outside your window, even when they were starving and rabid, knowing this was their place to die, as death is presumably under your house. The neighbouring houses were also marked by death after the Vigilante's genocide, indicating they went to a better place and that their final moments of man-made torment were rewarded by the kind entity. This all leads me to the idea that this series of events which threw the world, or at least your world, into turmoil was caused by death as some sort of rapture event. As the cultists say, death is coming to bring everyone peace. However, they don't know the correct way to do so, causing them to be victims of it. I know this is a pretty poor showing compared to the other theories, and that the main crux of my theory is the Aurora Borealis, and others are far more believable, especially when you consider I have explained the other endings in a narrative to make mine seem more believable throughout the video, and I basically just explained them in a way that I saw it. Not so much objectively, though all the info I gave you was as objective as I could do. So if you consider all of the endings as extensions of my own theory when I discuss them, you can kind of see how I've not really manipulated you to think the way I do, but to try and convince you that my theory is the correct one out of the other few. To be honest, I wasn't aiming at solving everything with my theory, and you could definitely have the takeaway that a mixture of the theories I've shown you, some of your own personal ideas you've come up with, are the correct sort of series of events in this. And if that's the case, please let me know in the comments. I'm definitely more confident that, for example, my Tom Dow theory that I made on the channel is a lot better than this one. If you haven't seen it, check the video out. Is there another call to action? Oh yeah, remember to like and subscribe. Outside of the death ending, every ending is unsatisfying, and even if you play with a good conscience, the game doesn't reward you. In fact, you're punished for being too kind, but also for being too cold. There's one more NPC I want to talk about, the Immortal Man, who's always a visitor.
It looks like me a little bit if I had like a beard.
He's only important because the devs, Trioskaz, are making a game centered around him called Lost in the Roots. In this game, though not a human, he's looking for his daughter, and in the game Lost in the Roots, you seem to follow the daughter, but in the same universe as No, I'm Not a Human. To end things, finally, about this game, I want to talk about my favourite part and what hooked me. The OST. The soundtrack in this game is incredible, and is why I think it's the eeriest game I've ever seen. The music is already a staple in media, and you've probably heard of it somewhere like on TikTok, just because it's just got such a unique vibe that inspires a sense of uneasiness. Some tracks are beautifully eerie, calming but unsettling, or just generally creepy. The night theme becomes slower and more distorted as you go on. Different games with different different playthroughs with different scenes and different songs are all so fitting, and I've used the OST itself for the majority of this video. The video is pretty much over now. I just want to say thanks so much for sticking with me throughout this whole thing. This project was something I promised myself I would at least attempt, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I've definitely improved over the project and my editing, and even though I definitely could have made something a lot better, I would be holding onto that mindset and forever trying to perfect something that I'll never be able to perfect with my skill set. I've watched a lot of content which has spoken about dreams and doing new things. Not really intentionally, but just from the creators that I watch, and the sort of tangents that they go on in their videos. And I know that the best way to get things done is just to do them. I don't think I'll do anything like this again in the future. Not only do I not have enough of an idea what to do on it, maybe I'll consider it for Lost in the Roots, but I'm not that much of a horror gamer. I'm just really entranced by the stories in this game, and I hope you'll stay around to see what else I do. I definitely won't give up yet. I'll look to branch out into my other interests too, like manga and Pokemon, and different kinds of games, so let me know what you want to see. With that, this has been my take on No, I'm Not a Human. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.